hello there, hello there, hello there. I'm Kevin Logan. You didn't hear my phone go off there. And I'm not even watching cricket on the other screen, so you can all shut the fuck up. And joining me, as ever, she's got legs. She knows how to use them.
Yeah.
She's been fully ambulatory for many years.
I was going to say, presumably that just means walk, right?
Yeah. Well, you can hop. Can you squat, Christy?
Well, I'm working on my squat by using the leg press, the inclined leg press, in order to get a deeper stretch.
You have taken this far too literally. This is just a joke I was doing based on.
You're going to be watching the cricket. I'm going to put on
ZZ Top.
baseball. MBL.com.
Well, talking of baseball, and of course, happy 4th of July / high treason against His Royal Britannic Majesty.
Oh, that's not what I was looking for.
Yeah, my own team, the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
I mean, not just losers.
What is up with their banana suits, their outfits this year? It was this bright yellow with
well, they all the teams are doing that. They're called City Connect jerseys. That's not even what I'm talking about.
Awful.
Well, yeah, they only do it for like a few games though. So, but anyway, it's just a way I think of just selling a different type of shirt.
Yeah.
Because they're all money grabbing bastards.
Yeah,
anyway, but even worse, not only are they fucking bombs on the field.
Yeah.
Losing
are they bombs
records,
off?
But bombs off the field as well. You'd think, you know, when teams win things, they go to the White House, right? Now, that's, like, bad when it's Donald Trump anyway. But the Red Sox haven't won anything. In fact, they've finished bottom each of the last, I think, 4 years?
Bottom.
Of their division.
You missed my joke. You ignored my joke.
Power bottom, yes. Although, to be honest with you, having just traded away one of the greatest hitters in baseball for two absolute bombs. Sorry, not bombs. Workaround project, yeah, we'll say. We don't have power either. We are a powerless bottom. Anyway, and they, having won nothing for fucking years, went to the White House.
For what?
And shook hands with Donald Trump. Because they're fucking cunts, and they make me want to hate them.
See, that's shit.
Like, why you didn't even look? It's bad enough when you win something and you do it. Like, you sort of maybe you're contractually obliged at that point. I don't fucking know. Why the fuck did you do it? What?
Now it means July.
Also, why the fuck were you inviting them? They're shit. Are you that desperate for any professional athlete team to turn up at your fucking house? Because none of the national champions ever want to shake hands with you, you cunt. You went, just find me any set of fucking losers who's in town.
Yep.
Fucking hell. So the mid-off between the Red Sox and the fucking Nationals, that series this week, it's just a bunch of wankers. A bunch of complete fucking wankers. Fuck off.
I hate fascism.
I'm not a fan either. I don't know if you can tell. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a thing. Yeah, I'm kind of hoping the team I like lose all season now.
Yeah, you're kind of rooting against your own team, which is just sad.
Which, I mean, at least you get a good pick in the draft, I guess. Not that that's really that important in baseball, but whatever, it's fine. Yeah. Anyway, so happy treason in that day.
Yeah, I mean, I actually forgot it was the 4th of July until I looked at my watch because I needed to date something.
I love when Americans ask, do you have the 4th of July in Britain? Because you know what they mean, but the question is fucking stupid.
Yep.
Like, no, we just go from the 3rd to the 5th, you bellend. Skip a day. Anyway. And there's no need to ask if you have Thanksgiving, because what the fuck have we got to be thankful for?
True, but you should have Thanksgiving just to have the meal, not like to do anything except have turkey and stuffing and potatoes and veg. I mean, although
Turkey's
to be honest,
gay though. I'm just going to put it out there. Turkey's
that's
gay.
Just like a Sunday roast for y'all.
Well, no, chicken's nice. Why? Okay, why would you ever choose that? Look, I understand the original Pilgrims and that, right? Because they had to steal whatever they could steal, right? But if you've got a choice, which we now have in the Western world, if you've got chicken, why the fuck would you ever choose turkey?
Well, I mean,
it's like the shittest version of chicken you can get.
Honestly, what is the difference between them?
Dry. Turkey's dry as fuck.
Well, that's why you bury it in gravy and potatoes.
Okay, but so you can have a meal, but you also have a coronary as well.
America, hello.
Exactly.
Have you seen what we eat?
Exactly. I have, and I've also seen Americans complain because you don't automatically get cream in your coffee. Ask for cream, you lazy cunt. It's not an option. It's just not mandatory.
Did I already do the joke about oat milk when you're asking for things with oat milk in Scotland to you?
No. But
Oh
did
my
they
God,
look
I
at you
saw
like
this.
you were an alien?
Well, I wasn't there. This was someone on Instagram who said they went to Scotland and they wanted oat milk in their cappuccino.
Right.
So they went to whatever cafe they were standing in,
Mm.
and they said to the barista, "Yes, I'd like a cappuccino with oat milk." And they go, "I'm sorry, sir, you can't have a cappuccino without milk."
With oot. Okay, so yeah. That works. That works. One of my favourite Frankie Boyle lines about Scotland. He saw an Englishman walk in and order a pint of shandy, and the barman said, "We don't do cocktails."
Ooh, Boston, bottom of the seventh. Okay, they're playing the Washington, whatever Washingtons are these days.
The Nationals, they're fucking shit as well.
Yeah, what's your see, this is why I picked the Cubbies. Actually, the Brewers haven't done that bad this season. They're not too far behind.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I stuck with the Cubbies. I think I like the Cubs. I think everybody likes the Cubs. They're an inoffensive team, mostly.
Yeah, as long as they don't win anything, that's fine.
Yeah. So what do we got? Oh, Boston's crushing the Nationals. Fucking up 9-1. The fascist bastards.
Nationals are awful as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's
oh my God! Look at that. Team. They scored 7 in the top of the 5th. Oh, that's rough. Oh, that's the guys scored 2 in the top of the 2nd, and then 3rd and 4th nothing, and then 7. What the fuck happened in the 7th? I guess they changed pitchers because they went back to nil.
Did Jaron Duran do anything? Because he's a homophobe. He got suspended last season for calling someone an F-bomb. He's also a Trump supporter. What a surprise.
Yeah.
Although, bizarrely, he didn't go to the White House yesterday. What the fuck is it with that? What were you up to, you prick? Anyway, I don't know.
I know. You got Lucas
Giolito.
Yes, he's pitching at the moment.
Oh, okay.
He's pretty deep. He's like 84 pitches deep in his count, so he must have been up there for a while.
In the 7th? That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he could go quite deep then.
Well, I mean, the Nationals have got 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and they scored 1 in the 6th. So, it looks like a lot of 3 up, 3 down happened in this game.
Yeah, very much so.
Sorry for everyone who doesn't understand baseball speak.
If you don't understand things, then skill issue, get better. Okay?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, 3 down's pretty self-explanatory, right? What do they got? They got no ducks on the pond either.
Yes. That is confusing. Why they're ducks?
Cute, though.
Is there a water hazard?
Old-fashioned. It's very old-fashioned baseball.
Yeah. Oh, you can tell the sports that were invented ages ago because they're played on infeasibly large fields. That would never look. Anything modern has to be like on a table that you can fit in a cupboard.
Or it's a parking lot would fit inside a parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas I've been watching Test cricket for the last 3 days, and just that sentence alone, we are 3 days in, and we're just over halfway done. So there's that. 5-day games, like anything that takes a week to do, you can tell was invented for and by posh pricks who've got nothing better to do with their time.
Back when radio was the main medium of communication, not television.
They take a week off from owning things.
Yes, to play a bit of
stand in a field
and eat orange slices at lunchtime or whatever.
Or get drunk. A lot of them used to get very drunk. The beer games were a thing.
Don't doubt it. So, what else have you got to entertain us until Marcus arrives?
Oh shit! I did have a video up, which for some reason I've gotten rid of. It was the one about Elon Musk being a big old fucking sweaty bell end.
Yeah, well, so situation normal on that one.
Yeah, the Robo-taxi thing.
Oh yeah, that didn't go well, and the sales are down, and Trump took away his tax credits, which means he's going to lose his big portion of his revenue.
Yeah, things are weird, right? Usually, I'd say a fascist president threatening a private citizen with deportation just because he said things he doesn't like. I would usually be deeply against this.
Mm-hmm. But
on this one occasion, I'm going to let him cook. I'm going to let what happens. We'll see.
I'm just going to point out that it was Musk's own brother who admitted on stage in public that he and Elon were both in the country illegally because they were supposed to be there on student visas.
Yes.
And they quit school to start a business.
Yeah.
and they were therefore lied on their naturalization forms and are therefore eligible for denaturalization at any point in time.
True, but what I don't want to happen is for his trans kid to leave because of the loss of birthright citizenship.
Oh, she would still be born in the States, so she'd be fine. She gets, Oh, you mean the loss of birthright citizenship because one of her... Well, I don't know which of her parents... Wasn't her mom American?
I don't know.
I don't know who his first wife... I don't follow it close enough to care about the nationality of his first wife, so...
Yeah, was she human?
My dad pointed out again to me, he is really offended by a lot of this stuff. You wouldn't necessarily think that being a former farmer, but he was Teamster. He was, union.
A former farmer?
A former farmer, yeah. The family grew up on the farm and he did a lot of farming, owned some land. But anyway, was more like a union. But he was saying, the ancestor who immigrated from Poland came here on somebody else's documents. Like, our entire family is descended from an illegal immigrant.
Fair enough. I mean, but surely after a while you can't be like tracking it back.
I don't know how that works.
Because what about if you could track your shit back to the fucking original Pilgrims? Like, they didn't go through fucking Ellis Island.
That's true. Oh, well, think of all of the wealthy families we get to kick out.
Yeah, there would be no white people left.
Well, I think that would solve a lot of problems.
Well, you say that, but we'd have to
all come back to Europe.
Yeah, I was about to say, we'd have to take Trump back.
We'd be stateless, a bunch of stateless European...
We'd just have the Trumps turning up at fucking Turnberry. You don't want this.
Oh, they go back to Germany. They come back and be a fascist here.
Well, no, I think they were legal here. Very annoying. Anyway,
right. So did you find the?
No, I found it ages ago, but we were talking. So
I found because this might say a little bit about the kind of accounts I follow on Instagram, but there is an account on Instagram that rates cuck chairs.
Hang on. On what criteria?
Lots of things. There's 3 standard criteria. Do you want me to try to find you the account?
Please do, because I'm now actually wondering this. Because a weird thought struck my mind whilst you're looking for that. My grandma, where she lived, very, very ethnically diverse area, by which I mean virtually everyone was black. Mm-hmm. And she was one of the few white families like in the area, and she'd lived there forever. Anyway, I used to listen to the patois that would get spoken between people from Jamaica and Barbados and all these fucking places, and they always used to refer to each other as Rasta man, right? Which is like a generic term of like pal or mate or something. But I didn't fucking know this, and the first time I ever heard someone say that to them, and I knew what a Rasta was, right? And so he went, "Oh, you're right, Rasta man." I won't do the accent; that would just be racist. You're right, Rasta man, and I went, well, yeah. Surely his name isn't Rasta Man, because that would be mental. Because he is a Rasta. He's got big dreadlocks and shit on. Like he's a Rasta man. So is that a nickname? Because how does that define him as anything other than all the other Rastas? Surely they you need to be more specific with the way you're naming each other. This doesn't make any fucking sense. If you just say "Oi, Rasta Man," aren't 10 Rastas going to turn around? It doesn't make sense. And then I realised, it's just a generic thing. Like it's not. That's not his nickname. That's just a name they say to each other. If you don't know their name, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, I'm very sad. I think Instagram must have cracked down on the account.
Oh, the Cuck Chair channel got cucked.
Yeah, because I'm seeing like Hotel Cuck Chair Cuckability 5.2. I think they started it from a different account.
Bunny in the Box, you're almost right. Not Handsworth, technically Lozells. But basically, yes. Anyway, sorry, continue. I've seen a little Birmingham chat there.
All right, next time I see one, if it pops up, when it pops up, I've seen about half a dozen at this point. I will pass it through. But I noticed that the account name wasn't quite like Cuck Chairs, but maybe I did share it with someone else. Okay, let me do some research. I have a group that is kink friendly that things get posted to. Let me do a little research there.
Right. Okay.
See what I can come up with in the meantime. So.
Okay. What? Anyway, have you seen my opening meme, Christy? I'm beautiful.
I saw the title, but I didn't see.
It's very confusing. There is a jarring juxtaposition between the photo and the title. Doesn't make any fucking sense, in all honesty.
Oh no, it was called Hotel Cuck Chair, and they closed it down, I think.
Hotel Cuck Chair.
Yeah, because I found the message I posted, and
Yeah.
when I go there, it's just dead. Must have gotten reported. Oh, I'm so sad.
Oh, poor cockchair.
Yeah, got cucked.
Can we get some F's in
This
chat
is
for
only
cockchair?
it's only on the 29th of June, so not that long ago.
Okay. Anyway, you've not bitten on the meme thing, so we'll just move
No,
on.
no, sorry. I was trying to do research for cuckchair ratings, but hotel cuckchair ratings.
Well,
But we were being
thank
oppressed. We were being oppressed and denied our ratings.
Maybe some of them were into being depressed. Not depressed, oppressed. Maybe
Oppressed,
some of them were
yeah.
into being depressed. I don't fucking know. Anyway, yeah, so Christie, Elon Musk, amongst other things, amongst potentially being deported for being
Yes.
a piece of shit.
Well, no, saying something Trump didn't like. That's why he was threatened with.
Well, he's also a piece of shit, though. Like
that, though. Yes, these two things are both true.
Yeah. He's also been promising loads of things. We're going to get to Mars. That hasn't happened. Everyone should definitely put all of your money, invest all of your money in the robo-taxis, because they're going to be online by like July, honest.
Can we rewind a little, just a quick second? I'm curious if, because, Elon came out with the Robotaxi, apparently did no market research whatsoever.
Yes.
Last quarter, they sold 5,000.
Okay.
He had predicted 250,000 units per year.
Well, he's going to struggle.
Yeah, they've already wound down production at the Giga factory in Texas.
The Giga
because
factory.
There's fucking nobody buying. They got parking lots stacked with this shit, right? So Musk keeps talking about how he's going to send people. Does he know that there is anyone who wants to go to Mars? Because honestly, who is going to want to go to Mars?
Specifically on his rockets, knowing the safety record they have.
Yeah, and his general safety record and cutting corners on shit.
It's okay.
Also,
it's okay if the panels on the outside of a rocket, if they're just glued on, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's a Cybertruck joke. If anyone hasn't been watching the channel long enough to get that deep cut reference, very, very niche reference on gluing things on the Cybertruck. But honestly, he's building this as if there's demand, just like he did with the Cybertruck. Who's going to want to go? Who's going to want to leave the comforts of Earth? This isn't like moving across the country or state. It's not even like emigrating halfway around the globe, because you can still go home. You can still get on a plane and go back home.
It is sort of like moving across Arizona. Very
the
dry.
Red Planet.
Very, very dry.
Yeah. But, I mean, you're not going to have any civil rights, any civil liberties. You have no ability to, there's no justice system. There's no facilities. Who's going to build this shit when there's nothing there? You're going to be, living on a rocket with... It's just ridiculous. It's such a waste of money.
Talking of dry, did you know, for the purposes of law, Washington, D.C. law applies on all train lines? In America.
What?
On all trains, specifically.
So the laws of Washington, D.C. extend across the nation as long as you're in a
train carriage, yes. And it's mainly because they serve... Well, no, I mean, I presume for, murders and stuff, it's, they probably just do, state law or whatever. But for the purposes of, serving alcohol and things like that, if they're going through a dry county, they can still sell booze. Because it's
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But they can't be a state.
They can't what, sorry?
They can't be a state.
Washington D.C. no, because they're mainly a train-based state. they have the entire state distance, right? Yes. But all stretched out in really thin lines across the country, rather than grouped in one location. yeah. Technically,
the territory is enormous.
The longest state in the union.
Literally goes across the country, just on tiny little narrow lines.
Cross-continental state.
The little cars. Yeah.
Anyway, little factoid for you there. Anyway, robo-taxis, it's just like everything else Elon Musk tries to do. Dog shit. Absolute dog shit.
Yep.
As bad as things have been, it has been a slight relief not hearing much from Elon Musk ever since he acrimoniously left his job in the Trump administration a few weeks back. And for Tesla fans and investors, this was great.
And said he was a pedophile. Said the president was a pedophile.
Yes.
And boasted about how he got a pedophile president.
He has threatened to start another political party.
For the 10th time, yes.
Yes, the America Party. because he's very original in marketing that way. If he could, he'd probably just call it the X Party, but he figures that probably couldn't get. He'll have to call it the American Party and then change the name later on to the X Party.
Well, that would be difficult because to call it the X Party, that would be technically copying the signatures of a lot of his fans. Because they put an X because they can't write. It's a little joke about their lack of book learning.
So he declared basically a primary wars on all Republicans. Then again, the bill passed, and I haven't heard much squeaks from him on that regard. Do you have to check the evil site and see if he said anything about? All right, that's it. Now that the law is passed, I am definitely starting my own political party.
I haven't seen that. I don't use.
No, because what Elon Musk would say something and then not follow through on it. I do.
Yeah, he's delivered as many new political parties as he has flights to Mars.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so there's that.
Great timing, because Elon's full attention was desperately needed back at his car company, which was about to do something very ambitious at a time when Tesla really needs a win. They were going to do what has never been done before: driverless taxis. Now, okay, to be fair, that is something that has very much been done before, for years in fact, by companies like Cruise and Waymo. But this time it's different. I mean, the only real difference seems to be that, unlike those other robo-taxis, Tesla's cybercabs do not have LiDAR sensors and rely solely on cameras, which experts tend to believe makes them inherently less reliable and more dangerous for passengers, pedestrians, and fellow motorists. But who's to say? Yeah, who's to say?
Can we pause? In the spirit of research, which is one of the only valid uses of X, I did go on and look at Elon's account.
Okay.
So, oh god, this is so painful. First of all, do you know that he is going to turn his Grok into, instead of like an AI model that uses real-time facts and updated information, it's just going to start parroting his opinions? Did you see about this about left-wing versus right-wing violence?
Yes, I did see that, and I saw someone say, oh, what was it? Oh, I can't remember now anyway, but there was a good comeback someone had on him, but it doesn't matter. Yes. Yeah,
so basically, I mean, it is a fact that right-wing groups and individuals are more violent than far-left groups. That's why the FBI considered, until Trump took over, white supremacists like the biggest national domestic threat to American, peace, prosperity. But that doesn't fit into his narrative. So he just declared that he was going to change what Grok says to match his own personal worldview.
Yeah. Well, of course he was, yeah.
And so, in a way, again, of, oh god. So he reposted from Grok. In other words, this is his AI mouthpiece now. Yeah. Listen how fucking, shite this is. Right. So this is replying to Lumopolis and Elon Musk. Grok said, "Listen, kid, this America party ain't no polished dream, M-. It's a raw gut punch to the bloated uniparty beast. Musk says grab a fistful of Senate seats and House districts, razor thin like a hangover edge. Hold the swing vote, force laws to bow to the real folks, not the suits sucking whiskey in back rooms. Independence? Hell, it's a brawl for the soul, dirty and true."
Isn't he just annoyed that he's not in the back room with the suit anymore?
Yep, very much so. And so then he posted 4 hours ago another fucking poll, even though he got the answer he wanted in the poll the other day.
Why are you so against Polish people?
Independence Day is the perfect time to ask if you want independence from the two-party, some would say uniparty, system. Should we create the America Party? Yes or no? I'm obviously not going to touch that. And then as a follow-up, one way to execute on this would be to laser focus on just 2 or 3 Senate seats and 8 to 10 House districts. Given the razor-thin legislative margins, that would be enough to serve as the deciding vote on contentious laws, ensuring that they serve the true will of the people.
All I'm saying is, vote yes. Vote yes on that, Christo. We want him to start the America Party. It's fucking hilarious. He's going to fail miserably.
I made my account spanned, so I can't. Anyways. But
I suppose I could, but
he is
care?
No. Yeah. Because it's just Americans voting in that poll. No, it's like anyone who's on that X. So it's really super reliable when it comes to the American people.
Indeed. Solid memes. Solid memes. I was there at the time as well.
Okay, quick, someone push him in.
He was a terrorist, Christy. What can I say?
Well, he owned slaves. Yeah, he was a slaveholder and oppressed
and
people.
On the point of terrorists, the High Court have denied the Palestine Action Group. They sought to have their prescription as a terrorist group suspended, which now has been denied. So, as of midnight tonight, you can no longer say I support Palestine Action because they put some paint on a plane.
Yeah, that's really, really bad. It's almost as bad as denying food and water to people who are trapped inside of the boundaries of Gaza.
Yeah. Interestingly, do you know the other groups they got prescribed with, Christo?
No idea.
There's a couple of doozies. One was the Maniac Murder Cult.
What?
Literally, that's what it was called, which was a neo-Nazi group that killed people. And then the leader escaped to Moldova, where he was extradited eventually. So that's cool. And the other one is the Russia imperialism movement, which has been killing and oppressing people in Russia and eastern Ukraine.
So these things are all the same.
Those things are all those are things. Literally, Palestine Action now has the same legal standing as ISIS. So, very cool country we live in. Love democracy. It's awesome, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yay!
A beacon of hope and freedom for the world.
Indeed, a shining city on the honor. That's you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's us.
Especially since companies like Waymo have done it successfully in multiple cities.
I mean,
with very few.
They still scare the shit out of me, but I've seen a lot of Waymos on the road, and they drive quite well.
Yeah, the only destroyed Waymos.
Yeah, and brilliantly, the prescription. Oh my god, you couldn't even make this up. But literally, the event they attended before the vote on that, virtually every woman in Parliament got a coloured sash in the colours of the suffragettes.
Okay.
To celebrate something like the 110th year anniversary of passing of some such legislation. You know, that one of those things. So they were there celebrating a group who sent fucking bombs in the mail.
Yep.
And then virtually every single one of them went to then vote to make painting a plane terrorism. Cool. Very cool, very normal, very consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen were the result of the Trump administration.
That's right.
But this week was Tesla's turn to prove the haters wrong with their official launch of the Tesla Cybercabs in the city of Austin, Texas. And, looks like...
Also, interestingly, Austin, Texas, like the most liberal city in the South.
Yeah, I think he's hoping they'll kill off some blue voters.
Yeah, probably, right?
Basically, I think that's why he's doing it there.
Keep Texas red by killing students.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Go to the bluest
also, America,
city and try to kill
us. Stop being weird
as many.
with your colours. No one else does the right wingers red. Stop being weird. Dickheads.
The haters might have been...
It's not as bad as the fucking Australia with their Liberal Party that's the Conservative Party.
Oh, the Liberals love the cons.
Weird.
Yeah.
Stop it.
They're
correct. That these robo-taxis...
Audio. 1 second. Hello?
Oh,
hello. There you go. Back. Right.
All right.
Is Marcus here? What?
Oh, I thought Marcus had joined. No, they're classical liberals, Kevin.
They are classical liberals, yes. And unelectable, which is good.
Are not ready for prime time and are, in fact, a danger to everyone in or around them.
Yeah.
And to be clear, this wasn't even a full launch by any definition. There's only around 20 of these things on the road in Austin, and the only people allowed to hail them are specific Tesla investors and influencers that have been granted access.
So but people who are going to blow him, basically.
So, yeah, he's got real confidence in his product.
Yeah. You know, some point you do have to let non-hand-picked people go in those vehicles at some point.
Did you see how much he was charging, the nominal charge for his Tesla, his robo-death car rides?
No.
What would you guess, thinking about how puerile and infantile...
$69 or something.
Close. Try another one. Think about what he offered for...
$4.20?
Yeah. But he doesn't take drugs, Kevin.
No, he doesn't take drugs. We literally saw him on Joe Rogan taking drugs.
Smoking weed, yeah. Although he smoked it like he did no idea what he was doing.
No, he did. It's like when they send a reporter in on St. Patrick's Day to sip a pint of Guinness, and you know they've never, they go at that pint of Guinness like it's a fucking devil. Yeah.
Their face all scrunches up.
Yeah, like, oh, lovely. And literally their fingers sticking out of the side, like, what? Get the fuck out of my face. Jesus. Miami isn't the most blue city in the south. No, not at all. As Miami-Dade is very purpley, isn't it? I think. I seem to recall.
Florida's been, yeah. Well, the Panhandle, the top of it's quite red, and then there's bits of blue as you go farther south.
Yeah.
I mean, northern Florida is just basically like southern Tennessee.
Yeah, but pretty much. Or Alabama? Or
whatever
Georgia?
It is, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, don't forget you can give me money. It's not relevant to anything, but it is true. Bits, subs, memberships, super chats, all of that shite.
At this point, one thing about these people is very clear. They love to post their L's.
They can't help themselves.
Hey, content is content.
Yeah.
We'd know so much less about Tesla's shitty cars if these people didn't document and post all of the problems that they encounter while insisting that it is still the best car that they've ever owned. And I guess that's true of the Cybercab launch as well. So despite only around 20 robotaxis operating for less than a week, the amount of documented incidents has been, to borrow a term, concerning. Here's The Verge.
Tesla's Robotaxi
Have we
rollout.
had any unplanned disassemblies yet?
No, but he was like very proud that some Cybertruck delivered itself allegedly to the person who bought it, except that it was followed behind by a camera crew that was recording it, and there was a Tesla representative there waiting for the car to be delivered in order to turn off the features that got it there because the person hadn't paid for them. And when it finally parked, it parked in an area that was painted red, say, do not park here. This is for the fire brigade. But I mean, aside from all those other things,
Brilliant.
It was completely
Excellent.
autonomous.
I love it. Well done, Elon. Big brain.
Oh no, spinning.
That they encounter while insisting that it is still the best car that they've ever
I don't know
owned.
why. It's just laggy as fuck. It's just decided to lag. Just deal with it, people.
And I guess that's true of the Cybercab launch as well. So despite only around 20 robotaxis operating for less than a week, the amount of documented incidents has been, to borrow a term, concerning. Here's The Verge.
Tesla's Robotaxi rollout has been rockier than the fanboys and influencers who got early access to the company's driverless vehicles would like you to believe. And thanks to these diligent Redditors, we now have a list of all the mistakes the company's unsupervised vehicles have made in the first couple of days. And they are definitely not unsupervised.
Yes, they're...
I think most of them, if not all of them, have a Tesla employee in the front passenger seat.
Yeah, ready to take over at any time.
And supposedly, back at HQ, they got guys in simulators who are ready to fully manually take over.
Why not just have them as a driver and just do taxis then?
It literally, this is
how
just
is
driving
it? How again?
steps.
Exactly. The fucking tech bro pricks. They take something that already exists and made it worse. So instead of just having a taxi where a person drives, right? A person drives a car that you get into and it drives you to a location. You have a kind of that, but not that. Except it kind of is, except the person doesn't talk to you because they can't or whatever, and then it might swerve into the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I think the aim here is clearly to destroy jobs. I mean, that's the only thing that you can... It's kind of like to get people who can afford Teslas an extra income that they don't need passively, while just taking away a good-paying job from another person.
Yeah. Oh, our friend of the show, No Justice MTG went to Las Vegas
for a con, right?
Yeah. Well, for a tournament, one of the
okay,
card tournament things.
Okay.
Yes. Anyway, and at the venue, she went on the Musk shuttle just to see what it was, and she basically said it's just a small shit train. Again, he took a thing that already exists, the kind of, metro tramway type thing, and made it shitter, more expensive, and worse. Brilliant. Well done. Really reinventing the wheel here, Elon, and making it worse.
Yeah, sounds like you've really dotted all the I's here, and
it's
are
beta.
Fully ready for these to be on the road around other people.
It's a beta.
People who didn't opt into this,
He
who are
is a
just
beta,
pedestrians or other drivers.
It's a beta. Some are relatively minor, like failing to recognize a reversing UPS truck while trying to pull into a parking space or driving over a curb. Others are more worrisome, like briefly driving on the
over a curb. That's where pedestrians are, right?
Generally, yeah.
Okay, so that's not good. Okay.
Nope.
wrong side of the road or dropping passengers off in the middle of a busy intersection.
Yeah.
You just get off in the middle of the fucking freeway. Yeah, bye.
Yeah, totally safe.
Also, what... Okay, if there's someone in the car, even though the car is saying this is the appropriate place to drop this person off, why aren't they overriding it and going, no, this is the middle of the fucking freeway. We're obviously not dropping them here.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't program it to do... I guess that's just not a safety... That's not...
Is it literally just, oh no, the computer says it, so whatever.
Yeah, you wanted to stop here, just boom.
Yeah. I'm just here to try and stop it driving into families.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the fucking dropping you off on the motorway guy. That's a different person. You need to speak to Dave.
Several incidents involve phantom braking, in which the vehicle stops suddenly for seemingly no reason, and this is apparently due to the sun. Because they're cameras and, middle of the day...
So you can't drive in the fucking snow or the sun?
No. Nope.
So basically, the two bits of weather you get in lots of America.
Yeah,
either like blistering sun or fucking 10 feet of snow.
Because Texas is known for its cloudy days.
Yeah. Well, it does happen. Texas is a big place. There's lots of different types of weather. Sometimes the state senate or the national senators have to escape to Cancun because of the snow.
Yeah,
it does
so
happen.
bad. Yep.
Yeah.
Ideal conditions, middle of the day, clear skies, sun directly above. These things work pretty well, but if the sun is near the horizon, that's where issues come in. Because, point a camera at the sun. Can't fucking see shit. That's why they use LiDAR on Waymos.
Years that others in the tech and automobile industry have criticized Musk for his use of camera only because they are faulty in a lot of scenarios. And just the phantom braking thing alone is a known issue in consumer Teslas. So... yeah, it's going to happen. And it makes for, I'm sure, a white-knuckle ride when you hear the what is now pretty common Tesla alert that something wrong has happened, like the
yeah.
and then just never know. After one phantom braking incident inside especially a Robo-taxi, I would assume that you would want to leave I would rather walk. Just let me out now. Because the rest of the time...
It's not just that. It's now that we've all heard these stories, I'm not getting in one.
Oh, God, no.
There's no fucking way. I don't care if it's free. I will walk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting in your fucking death cab. It's not happening.
Death cab for cutie.
Well, indeed it would be for me, yes. Correct.
You're probably, like, shitting your pants of when it's going to happen again, or if you're going to fucking die in this thing.
That's the whole appeal of riding in, like, a cab or whatever, is not having to think about the road and at all.
Yeah, that would be the point.
And with this, you don't get that.
You have to stay alert and scared for your life.
An active observer. Tesla's camera-only perception system has long had problems with phantom braking, appearing to misinterpret shadows, road markings, or other environmental factors, which...
Okay, do cities with people moving around, do they have shadows in them? The shadows
usually
exist?
Yeah, I think that's a problem.
That's the problem, especially with the sun, isn't it? So the sun's bad for two reasons. Gets in the camera's eyes, can't see anything.
Yeah.
And then even if it can, it casts shadows.
Yeah, it misinterprets them. Oh no, shadow! It's afraid of its own shadow.
Can the sun fuck off, please? You're ruining Elon Musk's otherwise perfect idea.
Yes.
Triggers the vehicle's automatic emergency braking. The Reddit list includes 3 incidents of phantom braking.
They then link to a list of incidents caught on video that was posted to the self-driving cars subreddit after just the first 3 days. Robotaxi drives into oncoming lane. Rider presses pull over. Robotaxi stops in the middle of an intersection. Rider gets out while Robotaxi blocks intersection for a few moments. Rider presses pull over and the car just stopped in the middle of the road. Safety monitor has to call rider support to get car moving again.
God.
Robotaxi doesn't detect UPS driver's reverse lights or the car reversing towards it and continues to attempt to park, then safety monitor manually stops it. Robotaxi cuts off a car, then randomly brakes, potentially because of an upcoming tree shadow. Robotaxi going 20...
Oh, God.
Oh, got fucking deked out by a tree.
Ah! It's worse than a horse.
Oh, it is literally like a horse. It's as skittish as a fucking horse. Oh, I overtook the car, then a tree shadow jumped out of nowhere. Fucking hell. Taxi going 26 in a 15. That's just some squished children outside of school, then. That's fine.
Basically.
I mean, that's the thing with kids. There's loads of them, isn't there? There's loads of them. You don't need them all.
Yeah, I mean, if Elon Musk cared about kids, he wouldn't have defunded U.S. aid.
Exactly. I mean, he's given up on at least 2 of his kids, so, like, you can squish as many as you like. Yeah. Anyway. Hello there, Marcus.
Oh, there
D.
he is.
Rake.
Hello. How are you two doing?
I'm very well, yes. Yes, he's got a law degree. He knows how to use it.
I do. That sounds like more of a threat than I would intend it to be, though.
It's always a threat. When have you ever had a situation where you're like, I want to introduce you to my lawyer, but for good reasons?
Yeah, no, that's true. Things don't tend to go well when I'm in.
It's like you don't go to the doctor because you're too healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Depends on the doctor. Is Michael Jackson's doctor out yet?
Ooh.
I don't think you can say that Michael Jackson was too healthy. Really. Either
He'd always
physically
get
or
less
mentally.
healthy.
Yeah. And he did, to be fair. Yeah. That is true. Anyway, yes. America's happy 4th of July or something.
Yeah, it's going great over here.
It
actually.
is. It is. Are you going to get deported?
I don't know where to. I guess back to Philadelphia, which feels
Well,
like
that feels like cruel and unusual punishment.
I will not be hearing that from the residents. What, the world's 3rd best Birmingham? No.
3rd best? I didn't even know there were 3. Where's the 3rd? Where's the other 2? There's Alabama.
At least one in Alabama. Right?
At least one, yes.
And I know Joe Lyson's got to be doing these other Birminghams somewhere, so he's got to have found more than one.
Possibly. I don't know.
All right, I'll see how many there are. I will ask.
Oh, there's loads. Yeah. It's a pretty regular sort of a name. Well, Philadelphia, of course, is copied from ancient Egypt.
Ancient Egypt, yes, indeed.
Yeah. So you're the 2nd best Philadelphia.
Oh my God, there are 17 Birminghams across the different states. There's also a Birmingham Gardens in Australia, New South Wales. So about 20 plus places called Birmingham.
And I bet even though it's called Birmingham Gardens and it's in New South Wales, it's probably the driest place on earth.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. And, I was going to point out, the Philadelphia in Egypt is probably all ruins now, but that doesn't necessarily preclude it from being the best Philadelphia.
I was about to say, it's probably still in better shape. Hey-oh!
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Only one of them has had a bomb dropped on it.
By its own government, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It would be weird if it was someone else's government and we didn't do anything about it.
Canada, you have the opportunity to do the funniest thing. Just saying.
Yeah.
All right, so Kev, what are you putting on to watch while we talk to Marcus? Or there's a video that I think I
Did you? Christy, I don't know. You wanted to talk about
well, the chat did too.
Well, yeah, specifically the chat said, what about this birthright citizenship thing? So this is where I let 2 Americans talk.
Also had something to do with
Porn?
being able to federal injunctions or like national injunctions as another one that came up. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I'm sure you'd be able to just you're the content for the day. So go ahead, Marcus. Okay. Whatever you want to talk about, plus those things, or at least those things.
I thought you were going to mention the porn cases. We can get to pornography later.
Oh yeah, porn. Yeah,
Kevin will be able to contribute at that point. So I guess the first thing we want to start with
Hang on, is that a diss on me or not? I can't tell.
No, because I'm just thinking it's not particularly legally technical. It's a policy thing.
Oh, okay. There you go. Anyway, sorry, go for it. Yes.
What was I going to say? Oh, yes. So the nationwide injunction thing is wrapped up in the birthright citizenship thing. So, brief background: we have the 14th Amendment in the U.S., which enshrines birthright citizenship, or just solely citizenship. Basically, if you're born on American territory, you become an American citizen, regardless of who your parents are.
Can we pause that?
Was that one that was just before the Civil War, right?
Just after.
Oh, just after. Okay.
I mean, but it also really helps white people, didn't it, to like suddenly become instant citizens as they spread out all across the country, like with the so-called manifest destiny. But I know that it was like related to the naturalization of enslaved peoples, but really, it benefited white people too.
Yeah, it benefits basically everyone. There's a weird wrinkle with Native Americans that we ended up dealing with via statute.
Yeah, but they were only letting white people in. So they were kind of
yes, but the Native Americans were still on their own land.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Yeah.
And so it was explicitly a repudiation of Dred Scott, right? The infamous court case that says Black Americans can't be citizens even if they're free. So we passed the 14th Amendment after the end of the Civil War to deal with that, along with the 13th Amendment, which ends slavery except for cases of servitude, and the 15th Amendment, which is supposed to protect the right to vote regardless of race or previous condition of imprisonment, right? So it's been pretty consistent. We've worked with it this whole time that if you're born on American soil, you're an American citizen. There's this fringe idea that the phrasing of what's called the citizenship clause has some level of wiggle room. So you can try and find cases where someone's born on American soil, but because of their condition or the condition of their parents, we get to somehow exclude them from being American citizens. I have not seen this taken seriously. End of sentence. But no, it literally until the Trump administration. This is a very fringe thing, and the courts have roundly rejected it virtually every instance they've gotten. So on his inauguration day, Trump signs an executive order, and the executive order is to direct the federal executive branch to limit registering people as citizens. The way it basically does it is it says you're not a citizen if you're born on U.S. soil, your mother is not an American citizen or a lawful permanent resident, and your father is not an American citizen or a lawful permanent resident. So if they are either illegal immigrants, both of them, so you can't get it from blood from one or the other, or they're lawfully in the country, but they don't have permanent, a right to permanently remain, then you don't become a U.S. citizen. So if you're here on a student visa or a vacation visa and you give birth, that wouldn't be an American citizen. They would have to be subject, presumably, to whatever their parents' home country is. It's, of course, something that immediately got sued. It got the administration sued in a bunch of different district courts around the country, including in one in Maryland, one in Massachusetts, and one, I think, in Washington State. And they all entered preliminary universal or nationwide injunctions, basically saying that not only is this something you cannot apply to the individuals who brought this case, right? The individual plaintiffs and states who actually sued, but you cannot apply this to anyone in the country who's similarly situated. The administration appealed. All of the Circuit Court of Appeals agreed with the nationwide preliminary injunction, and it went up to the Supreme Court. The administration, probably, I think, out of recognition that the actual legal argument they have for trying to undermine the 14th Amendment is belied by a century of case law, executive practice, public understanding, even congressional legislation. They pivoted, instead of trying to justify why they'll likely succeed on the merits, which is one of the requirements for an injunction, to say, we'll actually probably win, and that's why you should grant or not grant this injunction. they instead pivot to, well, they shouldn't have granted the nationwide injunctions anyway. That's an unlawful use of the court's equitable authority. So one of the questions I would have is, at least to Kevin right away, we got our concept of equity from you guys.
You're welcome.
Yeah. No. I don't know how much it exists in popular imagination. If I just say we're talking about equity, is that something the average Brit would know?
Equity is the trade union for actors. That is it.
Okay. So slightly different usage.
Yes.
Yeah. The idea traditionally was that courts of law, quote unquote, were courts that dealt with money damages, right? I hire Kevin to build a retaining wall around my backyard, and
I'll get to it, honest.
Yeah, I pay him $1,000 and he doesn't do it. I can sue him and ask for a remedy in law, which is my money back. Alternatively, you can sue in a court of equity, and equity, literally meaning fairness, is designed to create remedies that don't involve money damages. He doesn't do the retaining wall, or say he half builds the retaining wall, and he's fucked up my backyard in the process. I can sue and go, look, I don't even want my money back. I just want you to finish the goddamn wall, right? And I would get an equitable remedy, would be a court order saying you have to finish the goddamn wall or we'll hold you in contempt, right? So,
well, you can build the wall, but I'm getting Mexico to pay for it.
I would appreciate that. I'm not sure why Mexico would be interested in my retaining wall, but you know, why not?
Yeah, but it's going to be in the form of increased tariffs, which is definitely a thing that works as a tax, but it's not a tax.
It's not a tax, no.
Yeah, it's why we funded 2 whole world wars with tariffs, right? That's how we became the largest economy on Earth with these tariffs.
No. Literally the opposite of that.
Oh, that seems odd. So the idea of equitable remedies are supposed to be the exception. They were the exception. In British law, it was actually, weirdly enough, sort of a prerogative of the crown, right? It was devolved to the chancellor, and you would go to these
rightly so. His Royal Britannic Majesty should have say in all matters.
I don't know. It seems weird that the crown would get involved in a private dispute between 2 random people, but
well, that's why they delegate to these riffraff people in Parliament. Yeah.
The chancellor?
Yeah, one of them will do it. He's got grouse to shoot. He ain't got time for this shit.
The king or the chancellor?
Both.
Okay. So these equity courts are, ones that try and order fairness, remedy things so it makes sense for everyone. And eventually you get what's called the merger of law and equity, where instead of having law courts and equitable courts, your normal courts can do both, just depending on what the situation calls for. And so when we set up our country, we passed the Judiciary Act 1794, I believe, which sort of set up the bounds of the federal courts. And it imparted with them the ability to exercise equitable jurisdiction over suits within their competency. And the general idea has been, therefore, that federal courts exercise more or less the same jurisdiction as courts could exercise in the UK in 1794. There's a little level of analogy, right? So there used to be a thing called a Bill of Peace in the UK. They may still exist, I have no idea. But in the US, that evolved into our modern day class action litigation. So you can have some level of development, but so you need a historical analog to build off of. And so the government makes the argument that, hey, a lowly district court, trial court judge cannot enjoin the government from acting anywhere in the nation in enforcing this order. That normal equitable powers only extend to the parties actually in front of the court. And if an equitable remedy happens to benefit someone that's not before the court, well, that's fine, so long as it's an incidental benefit. It just can't be calculated to benefit people who are not before the court. Now, this seems rather odd to me, in part because I don't understand how you could actually stop certain executive functions without doing some sort of preliminary nationwide injunction. This is something that, weirdly enough, even though he sided with the majority, Kavanaugh in his concurrence did point out that there are just certain government actions that are so chaotic and disruptive, you virtually have to have nationwide injunctions. And the example here in this case is, the government's being sued by about 26 different states. Mm-hmm. And one of their arguments is, well, we have a whole bunch of programs for newborns, for federal funding, for WIC, women, infant, and children, right? These funding programs, and they're only eligible for U.S. citizens. And so if you grant a stay to, say, enforcing Trump's executive order within the state of California, well, there's this massive administrative burden on us, because then we have to check every single person who comes in and out of California to see whether or not the child they're bringing along is actually a U.S. citizen. And it would also mean that you would, if you're born in California, say, but I think Arizona is also a party, but let's pretend they aren't, but you're born in Arizona, then one of those children has U.S. citizenship and the other one, at least temporarily, doesn't, while the litigation is worked out.
Yeah.
So you could create a multi-year gap, because this type of litigation often goes on for years. So you could create a scenario where you've got 2 3-year-olds looking at, preschool or kindergarten, and only then do we find out whether or not they're actually citizens. And their eligibility to access all these programs in the meantime would have been up in the air, or would have been outright denied.
Are they going to start sending children to El Salvador?
Yeah, we'll just wait for it. I don't doubt it.
I mean, in theory, they shouldn't, right? Because the offense in theory for being deported to El Salvador is entering or remaining in the country without leave to do so. So the child born on U.S. soil wouldn't be a citizen, but they wouldn't have broken any laws by being born, right? It's not like we're requiring them to stay. Like, once you cross the vagina, it's like crossing the border.
I was about to say, because then you could sue. Because if that were the case, you could then sue your own mother for forcing you to commit a crime against your will.
Yeah, I mean, actually, if nothing else, you would probably just be able to argue, I couldn't have had the mens rea, the consciousness of mind to commit the offense. I would have
women's rea, please.
By being pushed out of a womb.
Yeah. It would be, I mean, of course, the problem is laws only exist only insofar as you can enforce them in the judiciary. And as we've seen with a lot of people who have been deported to CCOT, if they can do it fast enough, it doesn't matter whether they're right. By that point, you might already be in a prison, and now we're fighting over who has the authority to get you back, like Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Mm-hmm. Although they did at least bring him back, so that's a nice idea. The courts, so it's an opinion written by Amy Coney Barrett. They basically come down on the side of, the courts are not allowed to have or issue nationwide preliminary injunctions. They're going to create a big old mess then. Yes. And I actually do think this is perhaps an instance of careful what you wish for. Mm-hmm. This is one of those situations where it is bipartisan. It started in big numbers under the Bush administration, but basically the entire 21st century, there have been a large number of preliminary injunctions, and virtually every president has said this is an unconstitutional constraining of my executive authority. Mm.
But it's only now that you've got these conservative freaks that they've actually taken that same opinion as the executive.
Yes, right. It is like, both Republicans and Democrats have asked for this outcome. It is, however, telling that the conservative majority didn't agree with the Biden administration on that one. They kept turning away challenges until Trump became president. Yeah. Now, all of a sudden, they've...
But they're originalists, honest. They're not political actors in any way whatsoever. They're just enforcing the will of white slave owners. It's fine.
Precisely. It's fine. Very normal and healthy country.
Yes.
So the court, weirdly enough, because I think judges are fundamentally cowards, didn't do anything to fashion what sort of injunctive relief they would accept. They basically said, you can't do preliminary injunctions, and we're going to send this back to the district courts to figure out what is an appropriate remedy to protect the parties. Okay. One option, of course, was creating a class under federal rules of civil procedure, create a class like a class action, and then you have people there who represent the entire class, which would be, I don't know, pregnant people, newborn babies, something like that.
Bonus holes. Yeah,
bonus holes. Just the hole specifically. The rest of the body is unprotected, but the hole, very important.
Well, that's the bit that the baby comes out of, and then once it's out, it's got no rights.
Yes.
Yep.
Because it's committed a crime.
Indeed.
By being born.
Yeah.
So the idea is, okay, maybe you can do a class action, which is considered more burdensome than a preliminary injunction. That will allow you to do these nationwide protection orders. We'll see. I think part of the reason why I'm kind of skeptical of this is I'm not sure you guys actually understand how much of a floodgates this is going to open in litigation. Because
Well, I literally don't understand it, so please do explain it.
Okay, yeah. Well, I was more addressing the Supreme Court, but fair enough.
I've got the excuse of not being a Supreme Court justice. I don't need to understand that, but apparently they also don't understand it. So explain it to all of us.
Yeah. So if relief is limited to the formal parties at an action, then I can't have, say, a couple of individuals sue and block an executive action nationwide. In theory, you would need virtually everyone who could be affected to sue.
Right.
Which would grind the entire judicial system to a halt.
Yeah.
Especially since they won't have to wait to be actually impacted by the executive action. They would be able to say this would impact them. That's the whole point of a preliminary injunction. It's to maintain the status quo and say that if this were to actually be applied to me, I would suffer irreparable harm. And so you should prevent the government from inflicting that harm on me until we finish our litigation and you can decide whether or not the government action is constitutional, statutorily authorized, otherwise procedurally proper. Well, now, if you want to avoid the government saying your kid's not a citizen just because they were born on U.S. soil, it would require every individual to actually go to court and receive a preliminary injunction. So, well, yes, the government will be happy in the sense that one court case can't stop them in their tracks nationwide. Well, now the government's got to respond to tens of thousands of cases.
But isn't the point of making it impossible to even challenge it because you won't have the resources to get the injunction?
Yes, I mean, yeah, the part of that is absolutely the point of this is a civil issue. You do not have a right to a lawyer in civil litigation. So there are some people who just aren't going to have lawyers or will have to rely on nonprofits that do this sort of work and hope those resources aren't stretched too thin. But the government has fired a lot of its own lawyers, and so they're understaffed as well. And at a certain point,
I hear that there's a certain former mayor of New York who's going free. Just saying.
The sad part is I had a brief stutter because I couldn't tell if you meant Eric Adams or Rudy Giuliani.
Does Eric Adams have legal training? I don't know.
No, he did. Well, you said he's going free, and I thought you meant like is going to be released rather than he's available.
Well, no, but I mean both Giuliani and Adams should be in jail for various crimes, and as indeed should what do you call it? Italian man. What the fuck's he? I forgot his surname.
Giuliani.
No, the Cuomo. Yeah, the other Italian, the other corrupt Italian who was New York mayor. Yeah. Who was the son of the former corrupt Italian who was New York mayor, if you remember. Yeah. Anyway,
there haven't been a nepotism. So, and okay, and then the court. I will say, Barrett is a good writer. She's one of the two academics on the court, so normally I enjoy her writing even when I disagree with her. It was just kind of
who is that person?
Sorry, Amy Coney Barrett, the woman that Trump appointed. She was an academic at Notre Dame, right?
Thank you for pronouncing it properly. I appreciate that.
Frenchmen yell at me, so you know. And the other academic is Elena Kagan. She was president of Harvard before she became Solicitor General and everything. So
you mispronounced that though, because it's Harvard.
Yes, but I don't respect New Englanders.
Fair enough. After the Red Sox go into the White House, fair enough.
So normally, at least, Barrett's decisions are sort of well written and well considered. She's certainly a better writer than probably any of the men on the court, and she tends to give more clear direction. This particular opinion is kind of a shambles, and I think it's because they don't know what the solution to this problem will be, but they just know they want to get rid of these universal injunctions, and whatever else comes afterwards, well, that's a problem for next term's Supreme Court. We'll figure it out later.
Yeah, we'll let those losers deal with it.
Yeah.
I've got free holidays to go on, bitches. Peace.
Oh, I'm sure they're all aboard billionaires' planes right now, workshopping what's going to be the next future of America.
Indeed.
And so
can we privatize air? I think we can probably privatize air. Let's do that.
Probably. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. Or at least privatize clean air.
Yeah, exactly. You can have the dirty smog.
Monetize it.
But if you want oxygen, you got to pay.
So at least when it comes to, like, say, the concurrences, the dissents, like I said, Kavanaugh at least sort of recognized this is going to be a shit show. He's the only one I saw recognize that from the majority. And he proposes things like the class action to sort of try and get around it. The dissent, the principal one, is written by Sotomayor, and she tries to explain why there is a pedigree for these injunctions and why, on an issue like birthright citizenship, it is necessary to have this sweeping power because of the complexity and implications of the actual order going into effect. You do also have a dissent from Jackson, and
what, Mississippi?
No, Miss Jackson, if you're nasty, please.
Oh, sorry, Miss Jackson.
Yeah. And it's her dissent struck me sort of like it sounded kind of like Thurgood Marshall, where it's a matter of, look, I don't really care about the procedural history or the legalese. It is the purpose of this court to enforce the law. If we don't have this tool, we can't do it. Fuck off. Which, is certainly one way of doing jurisprudence. It's not very popular right now. It used to be more popular back during the Civil Rights era.
Yeah.
But that is very much a Marshall way of viewing things, right? I'm here to make justice, and I kind of don't care how we get there. In terms of what comes next, well, this case will be remanded back to the relevant district courts. They'll have to put in new injunctive relief. We already saw the day after this case got handed down that there were already applications to file class certification. I know, at least in the Maryland case, the moment it came down, they said, okay, well, we have a proposed class, and these people are here as representatives of that class, and we're seeking an injunction for all similarly situated people. So, yeah, it might not apply to, like, Christy or I, but it will apply to every person who's pregnant or has a young child that was born on U.S. soil and could be affected by this. That's sort of the idea. We haven't seen exactly what will come of it yet, but I expect it to be sort of a nightmare no matter what happens, just because this is uncharted waters and we got no guidance. Again, this is kind of a thing I hate about a lot of courts. They will deal, especially like Roberts, this is very much his ideology, which is you deal with the case on the narrowest terms possible. You settle only that one issue, and any other lingering issues, you go, we'll deal with that another day. We allow it to percolate in the lower courts and let these other judges come up with their decisions. And then we'll pick from the best of the crop.
We'll let them solve our problems while we sit back and do nothing.
Yeah, basically. And I get it. There are definitely some issues where that's valuable, but whether or not you're a citizen seems like one of those things that the court should really take up in the first instance, even if it might be a bit of an overreach of proper judicial restraint.
Have they just Dred Scotted millions of people?
I mean, technically, no.
Well, it's the best kind of technical. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Only because they vacated the original injunctions and sent it back to the district courts. There's almost no circumstance in which the district courts won't issue new injunctions. And one of the arguments...
So does it then just ping pong between the two of them?
Basically.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, this is a nightmare.
But, well, one of the points was because the states are parties, right? Because the states are parties to it, it may still allow the district courts to issue what's effectively a nationwide injunction.
Oh, yes,
anyway.
yes. This was an important distinction, wasn't it, that we haven't really gotten into yet about individuals versus who can be eligible for a nationwide injunction.
Yeah. So with all these states, there are various levels of population. The idea is that they have some sort of third person standing, right? So third person standing meaning their direct interests aren't involved in the case. The proper parties would be the people who are going to be like denaturalized and the US government in their fighting. And the states make the argument of, well, we have such an interest in the outcome, you should let us be involved in these court cases anyway. And that would include briefing, writing amici arguments, or asking for their own forms of relief. And so the hope is that when it comes to affording complete relief between the parties, yeah, for an individual, that may just mean the government is restrained from enforcing against that individual, but the state has broader interests in mind that can include a nationwide injunction. We don't exactly know how the lower courts will handle it. Again, there's just not guidance on this. We will have to see how they deal with it in the first instances. I imagine, especially since nationwide injunctions have become such a relatively common tool, that the district courts will resist getting rid of them. This happens not infrequently, where the Supreme Court will issue a decision and it will be hailed as doing X, Y, or Z thing. And then the lower courts don't like the decision. And so they'll do everything in their power to get to the same result anyway, even while technically applying the Supreme Court's new standard. You have this, for example, with firearms. You know, DC v. Heller comes out. It's supposed to be this new revolutionary wave of individual gun rights. And in the entire time between DC v. Heller and Bruin versus New York State, which is 2023, State of New York, rather, not a single gun control legislation was struck down in the Ninth Circuit, which is the entire West Coast. And they had handled over 50 some odd cases. And it was because, like, the judges just didn't agree with the Supreme Court's value on the Second Amendment. So they went, all right, we'll do your test, but we'll just conveniently find that the balance always comes out in favor of the government regulating guns.
Yeah.
And so we may be able to see something like that happen, where they'll either the class action or the affording affording complete relief to the parties, will end up looking functionally like national injunctions. And then the question becomes, does the Supreme Court have the inclination to correct the effect? If people are faithfully applying their jurisprudence and getting a result that they like anyway, does the court really want to get involved? I don't know if they will. Again, this is sort of a matter where, even where people disagree about like formal power for courts to engage in this sort of equitable remedy, the practicality of it is pretty obvious and generally well understood. So it may be simply a matter of the courts going, well, we don't want you guys doing nationwide preliminary injunctions. If we say resort to, say, class action status, well, that has a few extra procedural hurdles. It makes the process a little bit more difficult, and that's good enough for us, right?
Okay, that is twice now. Who the fuck is screaming?
Oh, kids in the neighborhood. That's my
Can you beat the shit out of them, please?
No, they're too far away.
Throw stones at them from the window. Sorry, go on.
I didn't realize. Okay, I mean, I guess you can throw stones at them. I don't know if that's illegal.
It's okay, they're children. They don't have rights.
Oh.
It's fine.
So, yeah, beyond that, it is a matter of waiting for further litigation. This is the type of thing, when it comes to big nationwide initiatives, oftentimes they don't get decided during a presidential term. Litigation will drag on for so many years that sometimes things just become moot because, the next president is from the opposite political party, they cancel the executive order, and then we just never get an answer to it one way or another.
Which is exactly what happened. As soon as Trump left office, Biden just went, get rid of this shit.
Yes.
Yeah, just clean this nonsense out, Which is why they've had such a problem getting rid of the ACA, because it's a proper piece of legislation, he didn't just scribble it on the back of an envelope.
Although that would have been significantly more entertaining if they had.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have to see. I'm not particularly optimistic about the long-term impact of it, but the fact that we're dealing with nationwide injunctions and sort of the propriety of the court's equitable jurisdiction does kind of indicate a squeamishness among the conservatives to actually rule on the merits of the issue. Because if they thought, well, this is a proper restriction of birthright citizenship, we wouldn't need to do this song and dance. They could just say, well, the government's likely to prevail on the merits, therefore the parties aren't entitled to a preliminary injunction anyway. And then who cares about whether or not preliminary injunctions are proper?
Mm-hmm. Do you actually trust this Supreme Court to literally see the merits of any one case and not just do the obvious political thing?
It very much depends on the case that's in front of them, right?
Well, this one.
Well, the reason why I say that is because the preliminary injunction part is before most of the litigation has happened, so it is a very bare record. By the time this gets back up on the merits, we could have several years worth of record for them to rely on, and then we'd have to look at exactly what specific arguments are being made, what specific evidence has been used, and what specific individuals have been targeted. Because while this action could, in theory, apply to large swaths of America, it will be specific individuals suing. And the court will have to grapple with the specifics of those people's cases.
And while they're fucking around with this, people are just disappearing.
Possibly. I mean, if they don't have permanent legal status, if they came here, for instance, like I think about when Hong Kong was being turned over into Chinese hands, there were a lot of Hong Kong women from Hong Kong traveling to the U.S. to give birth.
They're called Hong Kongers.
Are they?
They are.
Hong Kongians?
No, Hong Kongers. That's literally
Conkers, like conkers. Okay.
No, not Hong Kongers. That's just racist.
Hong Kongers?
Yeah. You have to smash each other's heads in order to win.
In order to get American citizenship for their children as some sort of protection against, the Chinese government. And presumably they would have to leave after their visa expires, their tourism visa. By the way, I'm going to take a quick comfort break because I'm hydrating like a motherfucker in this heat.
Can you beat the shit out of those children, please?
I will mute myself as I leave and come back.
Okay, stab them, please. In Minecraft.
Okay, I mean, not everything can be solved by stabbing children.
Well, I disagree. Fundamentally, I disagree. This entire problem could be solved with stabbing children. And adults. Lots of adults.
I mean, they'll still scream if you stab them.
Not if you stab them enough.
Mm.
That is it. I mean, that's why I'm just asking to be banned at this point.
It's
obviously a joke, but, yeah. Anyway. Yes. Marcus.
Give you another week.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. How have you been, Marcus?
I've been pretty good. I mean, it's a little galling. I kind of want a refund on some of my law school classes.
Why?
Because, like, well, you know how the Supreme Court overturned that idea of Chevron deference?
No.
Okay.
I absolutely do not know what that is.
Okay. It made some level of press. I think we talked about it briefly last time I was on here. Yeah. You don't need to know what Chevron deference is, except to say that.
Is that when you're really nice towards certain types of cars?
No, it's actually when you favor certain types of crenellation on your buildings.
Oh, okay, that kind of Chevron, right? Okay.
I took an entire class on Chevron deference in law school. And it has become entirely useless way faster than I would have expected. 40 years of good law, and now I just wasted an entire semester on it.
Oh, so you want refund?
I want a refund.
Oh,
yes.
okay. No, that makes sense, yeah. Fair enough.
Instead, they're not going to do that.
No, I suspect not. What, I mean, if you don't mind me asking, what school did you go to? You don't have to say it is private information.
No, it's fine. I went to the University of Pittsburgh School of Law.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. I went initially for health law. It's been sort of a pet issue of mine, especially since, the Affordable Care Act debates. And because they've got the University of Pittsburgh Med School attached to them, the one where polio was cured and all that kind of stuff.
The PGT.
They've got a really good health law program there.
No, PGH. What am I talking about?
PGH, yeah. Especially since the alternative was like going to Georgetown Law and getting no money from them, or going to Pittsburgh and getting a full ride.
Nice.
That was a very easy decision.
But how did you get on being an Eagles boy in Steeler Town?
Well, it's actually very simple because I don't particularly care about football that much.
Well, you're asking to get deported.
Yeah, my affection for the Eagles is mainly an affection for Philadelphia riot culture.
Oh, God, yeah. No, they do. Especially when they win, which is the bizarre one for me. Look, I get if you're angry, but if you're happy, why are you destroying the place? That doesn't make sense.
Because they're drunk at 8 a.m.
That is true, yeah. That is true. It's still my understanding of Philadelphia goes as far as the line from It's Always Sunny. Philadelphia, the city where bad things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lovely place.
I feel a certain kinship. Yeah.
I'm currently watching Cincinnati play I assume it's Philadelphia. PHI?
That gotta be. Yeah.
PHI,
yeah. I mean, you're losing, but it's only top of the fourth, so it's okay. You still got time.
I still love the poop games.
I'm sorry?
When either Philadelphia or Pittsburgh play, and the start of the game it's 0-0, you have P 0-0 P. So it's a poop game.
Is this an invention of your making?
No, it's a real thing because both symbols are the letter P, right?
Yeah.
A yellow for Pittsburgh, and then there's a blue squiggly one. Oh, sorry, red squiggly one for the Phillies. So when they play each other, it's at the start of the game. It's literally P 0 P. So it's a poop game.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you find ways to entertain yourself at the very least.
Well, it's 0-0. It's a boring game so far. What can I say?
It's baseball. It's always a boring game.
Although I suppose if it becomes 1-0 to the away team, it becomes a plop game.
Oh, I suppose it would.
There you go.
Lowercase L.
This is the stuff Kevin thinks about.
It is very much what I think about. Yeah.
Putting that history degree to work.
You sound like my fucking dad. What? Spend all that fucking money sending you there. You can fuck all with it.
Sean, Georgetown is a very common place for people who want to work in government to go become lawyers. It's right in downtown DC.
It is indeed.
A lot of people are connected there. I have a friend who went there, and he works for Gibson Dunn now, which is this very expensive, fancy white shoe law firm, where his starting salary was $250,000 a year plus bonuses.
Also has a good basketball program.
Yeah. They do.
No,
I don't know why, but yeah.
I don't know either, but so does Harvard. Bizarrely.
Do they?
Well, I mean, historically speaking, I don't know if they've produced many in the last few years, but they've won titles and things. Also, fuck Penn.
Why? What's wrong with Penn?
Didn't they literally just do the transphobic thing? Or was that Penn State? Actually, I forget which one it is. Anyway,
yeah, that was Penn. That's fair enough.
Yeah. So instead of being joint fifth, that stupid transphobic bitch is just fifth now. Brilliant. Excellent.
Because that's really what's going on. I mean, I guess to be fair to her, she's essentially unemployable now as anything other than a right-wing grifter. She's kind of boxed herself in.
True, but you could always terms of service herself instead. That'd be much better.
True. Ben Franklin Bridge is right there.
Oh, whoa. I mean, yeah, she could drive across that to get to a job on the other side of the road. Let's be careful with jokes, shall we? Anyway.
What do you think I meant?
Well, exactly, yeah, no, to avail herself of the local infrastructure. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely wonderful.
So, are there any, I guess, specific questions about the birthright citizenship thing or anything before we move on to porn?
No, don't fucking blue ball me on this. Just shove it right in. Let's go.
Wow, okay. So Texas and a number of other states have recently passed laws that require age verification for pornographic sites, or sites that deliver pornography to the viewer.
Deliver? That is an interesting description.
Used advisedly, because the Texas law is the one that ends up getting to the Supreme Court. And the way they define it is you have to have some sort of age gate verification for any website where over a third of the material would be obscene to minors.
Oh, so this reminds me of the old sex shop thing that Giuliani did in New York. Where, didn't he do something like to try and shut down the porn shops in downtown Manhattan? He said that, was it something like half of the material in any shop had to be non-pornographic?
Oh.
So they were selling like random books and stuff, and then dildos.
I mean, I guess I wouldn't be terribly surprised. It's a weirdly puritanical thing to do in
I think they were just trying
to
get rid of like certain... They were trying to shove things to the sort of extreme of the city rather than have them where all the tourists were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will give context for people like Kieran and Marianne. Apparently, at least if John Roberts can be believed, the most tech savvy member of the Supreme Court, because I guess they sort of divvy up based off area of expertise. If it's like an administrative thing, it goes to Kagan because she's like the admin law expert. Apparently, they rely very heavily on Justice Thomas to explain technology to them.
The old dude.
Yeah, apparently he has a genuine or general interest in technology, and so when a lot of tech cases come before the court, he'll help explain some of the terminology and the underlying technology that goes behind it.
The internet is a series of tubes.
Yeah, which, I don't know, he's in his 70s. I guess you can learn things in your 70s.
Yeah, I wish he'd learned to terms of service.
Yeah. So, Texas institutes this ban. Like I said, a bunch of other states have it, and they get sued. They get sued in part because the Supreme Court has recognized since the 50s, I think 1957, United States v. Roth, that
David
pornography.
Lee Roth.
What's that?
David Lee Roth.
Different Roth.
Probably. I don't know. It could be. I don't know what they do in their free time.
Mm.
John.
He did John. Oh, that is true.
Panama.
He was the lead singer of Van Halen, whose surname was Roth.
I wouldn't know these things.
I was doing a joke. Yeah. God,
Van
you're so white. Although so was he. So. No, it's a joke.
It's the white people thing. I wouldn't know.
It's a joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for those who don't know, Marcus isn't a white person.
If you weren't listening to Rick Dees or Casey Kasem, you would not get this.
Yes.
Rick Dees nuts. Anyway.
So you could be white.
Yeah, possibly.
If I didn't know any better. Go on. Sorry.
So they get sued. It goes up to the Supreme Court. This is a thing that we've been doing basically all the time in the U.S. since the internet became public. we have constantly had bills that do age verification for pornography, and they generally get shut down.
Well, they're dumb, and especially given the VPNs that exist.
Yes.
They're fucking useless. So, we literally saw the day that the I think it was one in Tennessee or some shit passed, the number of searches for VPN in that area went up by like 4,000%.
Yeah.
Because people were just like, oh, I want to watch my degenerate filth whilst pretending to be Christian, VPN. You know?
And, the idea is sort of nothing precludes states or Congress from making a stupid, hard-to-enforce law, right?
Is there any precedent for this? Has that ever happened before?
Stupid laws?
Yeah. Because
we've done a couple of those.
I was told that lawmakers are very studious in coming up with the best laws possible.
Yeah,
They've always got the best interest of the people at heart, and they really care about their jobs.
Especially local lawmakers, people who are doing it part-time while they run a car dealership.
Oh, so yeah, some of those are freaks. Honestly, one of the beautiful things about watching the Stop the Steal hearings and stuff from these various like state capitals is watching these fucking lunatics from like some rural part of Alabama that you've never heard of or some shit, and it's just the weirdest creature. This mutants. Like, I don't even, it's like something out of the fucking Wrong Turn or The Hills Have Eyes. Just, anyway. And they're like writing laws, and you're like, I'm not sure you know how to read. I genuinely don't think you can read well enough. You shouldn't be here.
Staff for that sort of thing, surely.
Well, I guess, but even so. And they're usually called something like Tucker Jones or something, you know?
Yeah.
Enough said.
If they're on the Gulf Coast, maybe they've evolved gills. At least then they'd care about pollution.
Well, I think lots of them have got webbed feet, but for different reasons.
No, yeah.
Anyway, pornography or something.
Jobs. Yeah, so it goes up to the Supreme Court. Like I said, this is something that we've done a couple of times before. There was a Communication Decency Act in the 90s that also had a requirement for age verification, and the court struck it down, basically arguing that the requirement was illusory, that there was no good way to actually keep people under the age of 18 out, and so everyone was in danger of being fined under this law. To my knowledge, I don't think there's anything still on the federal statute books about this, but some states have certainly tried to do it, and most of the time they require something like a driver's license number or a credit card. The idea being that you have to be over 18 to get these types of things. Then someone who has it and can enter it will automatically be above 18. Or they provide, like the Texas law does, provides for the creation of some sort of some sort of database by statute, and then you would have the sites check against this repository of people who live in the state and are above the age of 18, and to see whether or not they're able to access pornography. It's an odd choice. Clearly part of it is you're trying to discourage the use of pornography by trying to tie it to people's identities, right? It's supposed to have a chilling effect. And so the question becomes, at least in this case, does that burden free speech? So I saw someone earlier had talked about 14th Amendment's equal protection guarantee, and a lot of the same tests that are used for equal protection are actually also used for the First Amendment. So,
but often during pornography, they're not wearing any protection.
That is true. Unless it's in California. I think that's a law there now.
Oh, does that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to have condoms. So, go out to Nevada if you want to film something else.
Fair enough.
So the argument then between these options was, does the law burden speech at all? Right. If it doesn't burden speech at all, then the test is rational basis review, which is the lowest test we use in the equal protection context as well. It's, does the government have a legitimate interest in the goal it's seeking to remedy, and is the legislation rationally related to achieving that goal? The most common example is, blatant bigotry is not a legitimate government interest. The government cannot...
Time out. The government currently, as it stands in the United States, would beg to fucking differ.
Yes, well, at least you have to have the pretext of a legitimate government interest. You
Yeah,
have to say it's like national security or something.
I'm not sure they're really bothering with that pretext too much. It's a very thin veneer of an argument.
Which some people would argue we should not accept. This happened in
I would be one of those people, yes.
Yeah. In the Trump v. Hawaii thing, which is the I almost said Mexican ban, Muslim ban case, the court took seriously the idea that this was a national security issue. And Sotomayor dissent, basically going like, oh, look, they tossed the ban. I agree with them tossing the ban because I don't think it complied with like the necessary regulations. But first and foremost, I just don't take seriously this is a national security issue. The president said with his whole chest on camera that it's about discriminating against Muslims. Since bigotry can't be a legitimate government interest, I don't care what excuse they give in court.
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
That's a divided topic. There are definitely judges that take that approach. The majority in that case didn't take it, I think probably in part because they didn't need to. And it's easier to just say, you know, this failed to go through the proper developmental guidelines than it is to say, well, the president's clearly a bigot, right? Just easier to not mention that.
Yeah. So, before you get going on your next point, just to say to everybody, if you're enjoying the content that I'm not even producing, but you can still pay me for, in the form of bits and subs and all of that jazz, I'm not doing anything, but you can still give me money.
You're contributing poop-based material.
Literally. Literally.
Yeah. So if that's, you know, the test, if it doesn't burden speech at all, the next level up is what if it burdens speech only incidentally, right? And the test we use for that is intermediate scrutiny. This is the same test we use for laws that discriminate on the basis of sex, right? And the test is there a important government interest, and is the law substantially related to achieving that goal? So these would be things like, say, for example, if you wanted to have single-sex government schools for whatever reason, which we've done before. The court recently decided that military academies could be integrated on the basis of sex, but previously when they'd considered it, they said, you know, this is a matter of fighting readiness and developing talent to protect national security. That's an important government interest, and the government has made a reasonable showing that having single-sex spaces does that for whatever X, Y, and Z reason.
Didn't they also make this argument many moons ago about racial segregation in army units as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh shit! Our call-in's in 4 minutes.
You what? Sorry.
Our group, because we're having a group call. The call ends in 4 minutes.
Oh.
You don't have the paid version of the Google Meet.
No, I don't, because I was never having 3-person meetups anymore, so I just thought, what's the point?
Well, okay. At least not on Google Voice.
Okay,
yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll set up another thing, and we'll end this call now.
Yeah, I think that's best.
I'll
rather than be cut off.
Yeah.
1 second.
Better for a planned ending.
Yes, people, if you wanted to, you can help me out, because financially I'm a bit fooked at the minute, and it would always be very generously accepted and blah blah blah. You get the idea. Where is, hang on, Discord. Where are we? I was watching the cricket today. It was fucking mental. That is one massive partnership and then nothing else. Literally, England had more people score 0 than score actual runs, which is fucking mental. But that's what happened. Oh. Ahoy!
there you go.
Hello.
And we are back.
Yes.
Back on air, I assume, as well?
Yes.
If Kevin would talk.
Hang on, why am I muted? What?
I assume he's here.
I am here. Hang on.
I don't know. All I heard was more screaming, which could have been Kevin, to be fair. Oh, he's muted.
Why has he muted himself? I
What
can't
happened?
unmute someone else. I don't know. Kevin, you're muted.
I'm now
Oh,
not
there you are.
muted.
There you go. Welcome back.
Yes.
I don't want to do
Oh, just got the shit scared out of me.
Why?
Thank you.
Oh, was it the alert?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrina Webstale, who didn't even leave a message, just scared the shit out of me. Thank you. I appreciate that. Cricket is not shit, Nick. Get in the fucking trash. Go on. Christy's muted herself. What?
Oh. Well, if he gets in the trash, he'll see
I'm eating.
cricket in there.
Oh, okay.
Boiled like a baby
I'm having a Snickers protein bar.
Thank you, the Chaos Druid, for becoming a member on the awesome team. Much love to you. I appreciate you enormously. I will suck your penis.
You know they have one? I mean,
We can get one if they don't.
At least for the
fine.
opportunity, like rent a penis, as it were.
Yeah.
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 So, if the law incidentally burdens protected speech, it goes under intermediate scrutiny. That's the same thing as sex. Up until recently, the court had said, for example,
It's not the same thing as sex. I've done sex. It's not like that at all.
Maybe it. Well, I
what-
guess it depends on how you're defining these things.
This is what I put up with every week.
Oh, you know, I'm purposely trying to distract someone from making
I'm
good
trying not
legal
to encourage
arguments.
them.
Yeah.
Up until recently, the court had decided that single-sex military academies were fine. They eventually overturned that a couple of years ago, saying that it was not, substantially related to the important goal. And then if something burdens
The important goal of being war ready in case Israel want us to go and kill an innocent people in the American army for no good
Presumably.
fucking reason. Yeah.
right? And the only way we can do it is to pinkwash it. So that's why we need
True.
female military academies.
Yes. More gay drone pilots. Woo.
Can I just say that I saw this is fucking atrocious, and don't ever no Republican ever tell me again that they are pro-military. We have soldiers who earned Purple Hearts, who served when they were not citizens, self-deporting, so that they aren't excluded from the country that they actually served in the military for.
Oh, Britain did that shit.
That's just
Yeah, Britain did that shit. We had the Gurkhas, who were Nepalese by birth, served in the British army
nipples,
for years.
not nipples.
No, not
No,
nipples.
I said they pickles.
Pickles. No, Nepalese.
No, you said Gurkhas?
Oh, not gherkins, you rotted fuel. No, they're called the Gurkhas. They're a very, very highly specialised, imagine SEAL Team 6, but from Nepal, basically. Yeah, crazy, fucking, mountain, skydivey, fucking killing every bastard type thing. And they served in various wars for years and years. And then they went, can we become citizens of Britain? And Britain went, nah. And it eventually took the British actress, what's her name? She was from Ab Fab, Christy. You might remember her.
Oh, it's Jennifer Saunders?
No, the other one. The
Patsy?
Yeah,
I want to play Patsy.
Yeah, I can't remember her fucking name.
Joanne Whiteley?
Oh,
Joanne?
something like that. Anyway.
Yeah.
She was a famous British actress. Well, she still is. I think
Joanna Lumley?
Joanna Lumley. Thank you.
Yeah, that was it.
Thank you, the American, for telling me that. Yes, she eventually had to she led this years-long campaign, get the Gurkhas fucking rights and all the rest of it, and she eventually had to literally bully the then Secretary of State for Immigration or whatever it was. This was under Labour back in the 2000s at some point, and she literally was I don't know how she got access to the Home Office, but she was literally going around with a TV camera and found him and chased him to the building and forced him to have to say this on camera that they would do this. There's the footage of it, and he looks like a little boy who's been found doing a wrong thing, going tell the audience what you did wrong. You tell them now, and he's just sort of hunched over like a defeated dog or something. It's amazing.
Honestly, good for her.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. But that's what it took For them to just go, those people that were fighting and dying for us, maybe we can give them a house in Brighton. You know what I mean? Like, it's really not that much of a fucking deal, you cunts. Anyway, so it's good to see America taking lessons from Britain in being shitty to people who served it.
Yeah, in the military, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mad. I mean,
get out of here with your fucking performative parades and your sneaky tanks rolling down the Washington streets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a thing we've done for quite a while, right? Obviously, the fetishization of the military is not for the individuals who actually participated in it; it's for power projection. That's the part they actually care about.
Well, that's exactly why Trump was so angry with the parade, because it wasn't scary enough.
It didn't look scary. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't look like an authoritarian. He looked like a guy who ruled over a military that was perfectly happy, just like waving from tanks and breaking formation in order to chill out, hang out with people.
Yeah. Which, did that tear up all the streets?
I don't know how they worked all that out, but
because I remember they were talking about something like that during his first term, and Miriam Bowser, the DC mayor, came out and went like, our streets can't support tanks.
Yeah.
We didn't plan for that.
Well, it was very important that they painted over the Black Lives Matter, because no longer do Black Lives Matter to this administration. So they were being honest about that.
I mean, that is true. Also, it didn't matter to the DC government either.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to be honest with you. I hate Miriam Bowser so much. And I don't even live there anymore. Still.
Fair enough.
But anyway, yes. Pornography. Art. What's it called? So we have the...
Oh, yeah.
When it doesn't affect speech, it's rational basis review. If it only incidentally burdens speech, it's intermediate scrutiny, like sex. And then if it is a content-based restriction on speech, it's subject to strict scrutiny. And strict scrutiny is the test that we use for laws that discriminate on the basis of race or national origin. You may notice this does mean that, as a matter of law, the court has decided it's worse to be a brown person of any description than a white woman. Which is weird, because I've generally considered white women to be the worst in my experience.
True, let's go.
So strict scrutiny is there has to be a compelling government interest. I could not tell you the difference between important and compelling other than to just look at a bunch of cases that differentiate between the two and try and determine a theme. And the law has to be narrowly tailored to effectuate that government interest or the least restrictive means possible, right? So those are the three tests we have available for us. That's the burden is this. You have to have some registration service. They don't specify exactly which one. It gets up to the Supreme Court. The government makes the argument that, well, we're not burdening speech at all because what we're doing is affecting material that's obscene as it relates to children, and obscenity is consistently recognized as something that's not protected by the law. Right? Pornography, weirdly enough, is not considered obscene.
Well, you're not doing it right then.
Yeah, well, because the test for obscenity includes it has to have no arguable political, scientific, artistic, or cultural importance. And
I've seen plenty of porn that's just wank fodder. There's no deeper message behind it.
There's artwork that goes like there's the focus, there's the lighting, there's the sound design. I mean,
that's
pornography is it's a production.
And there's a kind of abstract art left often on backs as well.
Very Jackson Pollock, yes.
Yeah.
So the state, Texas in particular, was making the argument, well, what we're regulating is obscenity because children don't have a right to access this material, even though adults do. Therefore, it should just be judged under rational basis review. Rational basis review, virtually anything passes, right? So that's what they hope for. The challengers say, well, this is regulating content. This is content discrimination, and therefore it should be judged under strict scrutiny. The court takes a middle ground. In an opinion written by Thomas, they go, well, it's clearly regulating some level of speech, right? Because this isn't just every website has to have an age gate verification. We are talking about a specific type of speech that's being controlled. But because we're talking about controlling whether or not that speech is accessible by children who do not have a right to access pornography, then it only incidentally burdens the rights of adults who would otherwise be able to access it. Therefore, we should judge it under intermediate scrutiny. And of course, I think everyone sort of agrees that protecting children from what we would colloquially call obscene materials is probably an important government interest. Yeah. And so the question just becomes, is this mechanism substantially related to effectuating that outcome? Which the court concluded I'm inclined to think it probably is under intermediate scrutiny. My difference is I would judge it under strict scrutiny, because I think it's very clearly content-based regulations. And just because that happens to not be permissible for children does not mean it's not setting up substantial barriers in the way of adults. The courts have recognized, as I mentioned earlier, that certain regulations are burdensome on speech, not because of the difficulty in overcoming them, but because of the social pressure to not be involved with certain types of speech. The chilling effect of public publicity is actually a powerful force in and of itself, separate from whether or not it's like administratively difficult to accomplish the registration process. Yeah. Supreme Court disagreed. We'll have to see, for context, the minority or the dissent had said no, this was content-based restriction. It should be under strict scrutiny, and this isn't, the narrowest tailored means to effectuate the important government or the substantial government goal, whichever you prefer to go with. So at least in Texas, and presumably most of the other states that have this ruling, it will be permissible for the government to require that online internet providers of, gentlemen's special interest material.
Not just gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some women who are dirty bitches as well. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And non-binary people. Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
I was thinking, different from like.
All I can imagine is the people who made this law probably invested in VPNs before doing so. Is what I imagine.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right, I'd have to imagine so.
Indeed.
And at least the idea for a lot of these companies, I know at least Pornhub and its affiliates have simply said, it's too burdensome to comply with these regulations, so we just won't service IPs from your state.
So the VPN will just be like, oh no, I'm totally in Arizona.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Literally irrelevant. Thank you, Flint Reed with £5, who says, Morph did nothing wrong supporting plasticine activity. Now that's a weird fucking phrase if you don't understand that that's meant to be Palestine action. They're trying to
up on the Morph.
Do you not know more? Oh, actually, maybe you didn't get Heart on Art back in the 70s and 80s. There was a British
team in '94.
Well, I don't know. Well, they fucking replay stuff. I wasn't alive then either, but I remember it. Anyway, it was a British TV show, a guy called Tony Hart, who was an old man. He must be dead. He'd be about 150 now. He did art for kids, right? It was a kids' TV show. And one of the things was a claymation, which was like advanced at the time, right? Stop motion animation thing called Morph. He was a little red man. Anyway, and the joke being that he's made of plasticine, so Palestine action. It's basically a way of saying I support a group that's about to be called terrorist without saying I support that terrorist group.
Okay, that's,
Because they shouldn't be being made a terrorist group because they're not terrorist.
Uh-huh.
Which I can say for another, 4 hours? Brilliant. Yeah.
It does always remind me, especially when I talk to my different European friends, how much I would happily take the statute books of your average European country, but I would very much insist on the American Constitution, because some of the speech restrictions that continent has is fucking wild.
Well, I was about to ask, actually, because I don't know how this is done. How does one go about prescribing a group in America? Whose power and jurisdiction does that come under?
Yeah,
you can't.
Well, you must have terrorist groups, sure.
Yeah, we can label something a terrorist group, in which case material actions of support can be illegal, right? Like supplying money and
okay,
arms.
so how does one do that then? Who decides that? Who has
Congress?
The power? That is actually, I think, through the executive. That would be the president and DHS who would make that decision. Okay. Because it would have the force of law, it would have to go through a pretty lengthy notice and comment period. The public would be able to give feedback and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it would be entirely within the executive branch. But in terms of just, I mean, you could just say you support the Klan or Al Qaeda or whatever if you want.
Again,
right?
you can't say that here.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if the KKK are prescribed here. I have no idea. I presume so. I certainly hope so, but I have no idea.
In Germany, you can't tell someone to fuck off.
That's ridiculous.
It's wild.
Especially because you're in Germany. You wanted to tell everyone to fuck off.
Yeah,
obviously.
You have to, kind of like a be nice rule. I can pull up.
Yeah, I'll say, isn't road rage illegal?
Well, we have the Autobahn, so that's a really important thing to have.
I realise that you gave into anger a little bit too much way back in the day. It was a long time ago. We don't go into it, right? But you've gone too far the other way with it now. Okay.
If you go up to a police officer, say I fucking hate the police, and flip them off, they can fine you. I think I don't know if they arrest you.
See, that's
they can fine you for that.
I don't think that's illegal here, but they will beat the shit out of you.
Yeah.
So there's that, and they'll just say, "Oh, he threatened me, and I was defending myself," and conveniently their fucking cameras were switched off at the time. What a surprise!
Yeah. So, I've got the information now.
Tony Hart died in 2009 at the age of 93.
Nice.
So I wasn't even far off when I overdid it at 150 or whatever.
All right, so here we go. Here's an overview of how German law treats insults, or Beleidigung, and related offenses. The legal basis: insulting someone is a criminal offense under the German Criminal Code. This covers any verbal, written, or nonverbal expression that intentionally attacks another person's honor in a way that is not justified. For example, and not protected by freedom of speech in a legitimate debate. What counts as an insult? Classic examples include swearing, name-calling, gestures like giving someone the finger, or defamatory remarks.
Oh, that's dumb.
Even writing an offensive message online or on social media can qualify. The deciding factor is whether the statement intentionally aims to degrade someone's personal honor without lawful reasons. Punishments are a fine, in more serious cases up to 1 year of imprisonment. In practice, most cases end with a fine if there's no accompanying violence or threat.
Fuck you, Germany. I personally impugn your fucking, what was it?
Well, you can from where you are. You
can
from where you are.
Dickheads.
Insult crimes in Germany are usually only prosecuted if the victim files a complaint. Police or prosecutors will normally not pursue an insult case on their own initiative unless it's considered to be in the public interest.
So it's a fucking Karen's charter.
Yeah, sort of.
Oh.
Let's see. There are higher penalties for insulting public officials while they are performing their formal duties, e.g. police officers.
Fuck you, the mayor of Leipzig!
Insults directed at groups of people on the basis of race, religion, nationality, or sexual orientation may also thunder under incitement.
Fuck you, Germans!
Which carries stricter penalties. German law strongly protects freedom of expression, but this freedom stops when a statement. This freedom stops when a statement becomes a personal insult or hate speech.
I'm not sure about that.
Can I just say, I don't feel oppressed at all by the fact that I can't, people can't call me a dumb cunt in the street or, give me the finger. I don't feel oppressed in any way or marginalized.
The problem is not that you're actually going to deal with instances of road rage, right? It's for, say, examples of something like, Palestinian solidarity protesters who will be selectively criminalized because the government doesn't like the position their speech stakes out, but will absolutely excuse that for someone who threatens to cap Russians, for example, because we all agree that, Ukraine is in the right.
Yeah, and
that's my concern.
Yeah, and that's why it says it's normally private prosecutions. As opposed to police initiating. I'm personally unaware, other than prosecuting AfD people for quoting Hitler and using Nazi chants, I'm unaware of any headlines, and people in the chat can, I'm sure, would happily prove me wrong, of the police selectively engaging in that kind of...
Apparently the KKK are not prescribed in the UK.
Why not?
I have no idea. Presumably because they don't operate here.
They're white Americans.
Although loads of these groups don't operate here. There's only one beginning with K, and it's Katiba al-Katwa, also known as the something. The group of Mujahideen in more than 20 different countries. The CAC is an armed terrorist group fighting for the Islamic State in Syria. Okay.
Anyway, like I said, I don't feel especially oppressed in any particular way. Then again, I tend to write I'm not on Twitter anymore, so I don't have to worry about insulting people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm always concerned about a lot of that sort of stuff. In part, like I think
I think my concern about having lived in. Go ahead.
I was just going to say there is.
I have a longer point.
Because it's such a problem. We've got a specific subset of terrorist groups, which is Northern Ireland related terrorist.
Oh
groups.
yes, 100%. Yeah, any IRA linked things.
Yeah, lots of Orange volunteers. The Red Hand Commando. Oof. Anyway,
that sounds kind of badass. I'll be honest.
I assure you, they are not. Yes, go on.
I think the problem with free speech laws in America is that they end up putting the rights of awful people to say awful things above the rights of people to feel safe in their own country. And I think Europeans try to strike a fair balance on keeping, because every person in a country should feel safe to be there. And I'm thinking specifically of people with power and white privilege and male privilege sometimes too, who use free speech as a shield to make other people feel very unsafe. And I don't think that is a good thing.
Oh. So yeah, I just I guess it's sort of first principles. I don't agree you have a right to feel safe in your country.
Oh wow, okay. But I think I think being in Europe where there's positive freedoms rather than negative freedoms.
Mm-hmm. I see. What I disagree with in America is this idea of your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I don't agree that people have the right to any of those
rights.
things.
That's just rhetoric. That's
but I don't think you should have the right to life or liberty or the pursuit of happiness.
Mm.
You should die in slavery and be unhappy.
Well, I mean, that is the goal. That is what they're working for. They want you to be uneducated so you don't question their power. They want you to breed like bunnies so that you stay poor enough.
Only if you're white.
Stop talking to me. Stop over me.
Stop talking to me. That's very rude.
Shut the fuck up. So too busy. Oh, parrots. The parrots just flew by. There's a Cologne parrots. They just flew by my house. That's so cool. Anyway, and they want you to die before you're old enough to collect Social Security. That's the goal. Yeah. Just put out more workers. Be yourself a worker and don't question people like Elon Musk or Donald Trump. You're there to be sheared like sheep, not to have rights or freedoms. By the way, I have another topic that I put in the Discord for the group chat I would like. Well, maybe you could click on it and read it out because you have the screen power, Kevin.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like it was the thing for Marcus.
It is for Marcus, but you have the power of the screen.
Okay.
So.
No.
Oh, so it's a thing you actually want me to show on the screen? Good. Yeah. Gosh. Okay.
Well, we got like another 30 minutes at least because we started at 7. We normally run at least 2.5 hours. So
oh, hang on.
I wanted to find something else for Marcus to discuss for another 30 minutes or at least 25. Okay. Yeah, because it's so nice to have you on. I get to take a little rack. I just get to learn stuff and feel smarter.
Okay. Judge, you can't ban DEI grants without bothering to define DEI. Yeah, that is a problem. It's like when they try to ban woke. Because you have to go into a courtroom and explain what woke is, and you can't do that on the internet. So, like, how the fuck are you going to get that past a judge?
So, Kevin, give us a little narration.
Okay. In mid-June, a federal judge issued a stinging rebuke to the Trump administration, declaring that its decision to cancel the funding for many grants issued by the National Institutes of Health was illegal, and suggesting the policy was likely animated by racism, which again, as we learned earlier, is not a prerogative of the American government.
Yeah.
But the detailed reasoning behind this decision wasn't released at the time. The written portion of the decision was finally issued on Wednesday, and it has a number of notable features. For starters, it's more limited in scope due to a pair of Supreme Court decisions that were issued in the intervening weeks. As a consequence, far fewer grants will see their funding restored. Regardless, the court continues to find that the government's actions were arbitrary and capricious. Obviously. Like, literally, obviously. In part because the government never bothered to define the problems that would get a grant cancelled. As a result, exactly, if you can't define how not to break the law, how the fuck can someone follow the law? Anyway. As a result, officials within the NIH simply cancelled lists of grants they'd received from Doge without bothering to examine their scientific merit, and then struggled to retroactively describe a policy that justified the actions afterward, a process that led several of them to resign.
I'm a dickhead. I'll admit it and leave. Goodbye.
Yeah. A more limited verdict. The issue before Judge William Young of the District of Massachusetts.
Reagan appointee.
Oh, okay. Was whether the government had followed the law in terminating grants funded by the National Institutes of Health. The National Institutes of Health. Why is it plural? That's very annoying. After a short trial, Young issued a verbal ruling that the government hadn't, and that he had concluded that its actions were the product of, quote, racial discrimination and discrimination against America's LGBTQ community, unquote.
Yep.
But the details of this decision are but clearly this Reagan appointee is woke.
Yeah, very woke Reagan appointees.
So that's the problem. You go to Massachusetts, the home of woke.
God, how fucking
you don't meet very many 80-year-old wokeratis.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
True.
like, the latest he could have been appointed would have been like 1983 or something.
Really?
No.
How old
89.
was Reagan?
Reagan was 89, yeah.
Oh, is he okay? All right. I thought Bush was.
I mean, to be fair, his brain had melted by 1989, but he was still technically president.
Was George Bush? Because it wasn't Clinton elected in
94.
Must have been, because I was at university. 96.
So,
must have been 90. No, it couldn't have been that
I'll
late.
say Reagan was elected.
The Republican
in
Revolution was in
79.
94. Yeah, the Republican Revolution was in 1994, and that was a reaction against Clinton, which was in 92.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so it
So-
was 89 to 92 was
93.
Bush.
Yeah,
And then
Technically.
92 to 2000 was Clinton.
yeah. So
'Cause
Reagan.
They're elected the year before they start serving.
Yes. Yeah.
Indeed.
So the last year that this guy could have been appointed was 88.
Pretty much, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fuck long time ago, though.
That
That's
is a long
almost 40
time ago.
years.
That is almost
He's
40
got to
years
be
ago.
almost in his 80s at
Well,
least.
do you want to feel really old, Christo? We're now closer to the year 2050 than to the year 2000.
Oh, that doesn't freak me out so much. I think there was something about, like, Stand By Me took place in 1980 whatever, and it was about the summer of 60 something, and right now if Stand By Me would have been made, it would have been about the summer of 2000.
Kill me.
Lovely.
Anyway,
Where were we?
continue.
Yes.
Yeah, I looked it up. He was appointed in 85 and
Okay.
was born in 1940. So
Gee, how are you here, you prick? Go to eternal sleep.
He's on senior status, which is basically if you're a federal judge, you can semi-retire, where you get like a reduced docket, but you like help them keep the
Yeah.
caseload from being too.
Or
heavy.
just
That's what
move
he's doing.
towards the light.
Yeah.
So how old is he now? 80?
1940 would make him 85, I guess.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
25. Yeah.
Where were we? Sorry. But the details of his decision and the evidence that motivated them have to wait for a written ruling, which is now available. In the meantime, however, the Supreme Court have shifted the ground on a couple of issues. For example, while Young still feels that policy decisions were motivated by discrimination against LGBTQ community, the United States versus Scarametti decision limits what he can do about it. Do you want to explain what that means? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Okay,
no,
fair enough. I don't know. I expect geeks to know things.
Oh, okay. I do recognize this because Attorney General for Tennessee. Yeah, it's a court case about whether or not Tennessee could restrict basically gender-affirming care, including like hormones for minors.
Of course
And
it
the
was.
court found that it could.
Okay, naturally. Why wouldn't
Yeah.
you? Young writes that the decision, quote, leads this court to conclude that while here there is federal government discrimination based on a person's status, not all discrimination is pejorative, unquote. Separately, Trump versus CASA blocked the use of national injunctions against illegal activity. So while the government's actions have been determined to be illegal, Young can only protect the people who were parties to this suit. Anyone who lost a grant but wasn't a member of any parties involved or based in any of the states that sued remains on their own. Brilliant. So even when he does illegal shit, they can't actually stop him. Amazing. Fucking amazing. Don't you love checks and balances, everyone?
Yeah.
Those issues aside, the ruling largely focuses on whether the termination of grants violates the Administrative Procedures Act, which governs how the executive branch handles decision and rulemaking. Specifically, it requires that any decisions of this sort cannot be, quote, arbitrary and capricious, unquote. And Young concludes that the government hasn't cleared that bar. The grant cancellations, Young concludes, quote, arise from the NIH's newly minted war against undefined concepts of diversity, equity and inclusion and gender identity that has expanded to include vaccine hesitancy, COVID, influencing public opinion and climate change, unquote. Because heaven forbid a National Institute for, science or whatever is trying to influence public opinion about science. Brilliant. The undefined aspect plays a key part in his reasoning. Referring to DEI, he writes, quote, no one has ever defined to this court, and this court has asked multiple times, unquote. It's not defined in Trump's executive order that launches the newly minted war, and Young found that administrators within the NIH issued multiple documents that attempted to define it, not all of which were consistent with each other, and in some areas seemed to use circular reasoning. What a surprise! He also noted that the officials who sent these memos have a tendency to resign shortly afterwards, writing, quote, it is not lost on the court that oftentimes people vote with their feet, unquote.
Always a good sign.
Lovely, yeah, no, definitely standing by their words. As a result, the NIH staff had no solid guidance for determining whether a given grant violated the new anti-DEI policy, or how that might be weighed against the scientific merit of the grant. So, how were they to identify which grants needed to be terminated? ? The evidence revealed at trial indicates that they didn't need to make those decisions. DOGE made them for the NIH. Because, Doge, stuck with those 20-year-old scientific experts.
Big Balls resigned, though.
Yeah, Big Balls.
Big Balls is
good
gone.
Stuff. Big Balls was making decision on Ebola vaccine research.
Bye-bye,
Honestly,
Big
a
Balls.
loss for the nation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they've still got a 22-year-old in charge of counter-terrorism, though.
I feel safer.
That can't go badly for anyone.
Do you see that picture of him? He looks like such a fucking douchebag with his
the
one
most
eyebrow.
slappable face I've ever seen.
If you wanted to draw me a picture of a Sargon fan.
Oh, he look. If you've ever seen a person and you thought that person loves the smell of their own farts, it's that guy.
Well, there's a German
Loves
phrase, a face that wants to be slapped.
Yeah, exactly. The face geschlappen wird. Yeah. That's basically what it is. Anyway, where are we? Was moving for them. In one case, an NIH official approved a list of grants to terminate received from Doge only 2 minutes after it showed up in his inbox.
Oh my god!
A lot of well-reasoned consideration going on there. Then, how did they think this was going to fly in a court? 2 minutes. You didn't. You know what you should have done? Opened it, just left it open, gone for lunch, and come back. At least you could pretend you looked at it then. Fucking hell. Anyway.
I mean, obviously I'm a bit biased, but this is kind of what happens when you just make decisions without talking to a lawyer first.
True. Yeah.
And it's not like there aren't enough lawyers working for the government that they could have asked.
You think DC, if it's one thing is short on, it's lawyers. I don't think there are enough.
Yeah, you need more lawyers. Can we rush some lawyers to DC, please?
Yes.
Anyway.
Hey, technically, I'm a DC lawyer. I'm a member of the DC bar. I could be one of these big balls as people.
And we salute your service to the nation, sir. Quote, there is no reasoned decision-making at all with respect to the NIH's abruptness in the robotic rollout of this grant termination action, Young concludes. Based upon a fair preponderance of the evidence and on sparse administrative record, the court finds and rules that HHS and in turn NIH are being force-fed unworkable policy supported with sparse pseudo-reasoning and wholly unsupported statements. Unquote. Which is, in legal terms, a mic drop.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Young also noted that the termination of grants to Columbia University was equally arbitrary. Quote, how the scientific and research activities had any connection with unrest issues on Columbia's campus is conspicuously never explained, Young noted. The record evidence certainly reveals none, unquote. So don't have an opinion the government doesn't like, otherwise you have no money ever. It's basically weird fascism.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what we're living through. Yeah.
A small win against a larger loss. Brilliant. Given all that, it's little surprise that the ruling declares the grant termination to be arbitrary and capricious. Quote, the public officials at the NIH, in their haste to appease the executive, simply moved too fast and broke things. Yep. Young concluded, including the law. Which is like, I bet... That's like when a judge gets to really drop some shit. That's like a bar. That's a legal bar.
Tell this guy is about to retire or die.
Yeah.
It's like, he is beyond giving fucks. He's like, no, I'm going to make this spicy.
That provides the legal reasoning behind his earlier decision to restore the cancelled grants. Although, as noted, this has now been limited to only those grants held by researchers who are covered by one of the organisations or governments that filed the suit. But Young also appears to lament the fact that he had to intervene here, writing, quote, the American people have enjoyed a historical norm of a largely apolitical science research agency, supporting research in an elegant, merit-based approach that benefits everybody. That historical norm changed on January the 20th, 2025. The new administration began weaponising what should not be weaponised. The health of all Americans through its abuse of HHH and the new NIH systems, creating chaos and promoting an unreasonable and unreasoned agenda of blacklisting certain topics on this administrative record has absolutely nothing to do with the promotion of science or research. Unquote. So while the decision restores money to individual research programs, it does nothing to reverse the larger damage caused by the politicization of funding decisions. That's well written. That was good.
Yes, thanks.
It's a fucking terrible thing that's happened, but it's well written nonetheless.
So, thoughts, Marcus?
Well, I mean, I can't say I'm terribly surprised, right? So, I mean, it mentions in the article that the standard for the Administrative Procedures Act, the APA, which we've been using since the 1910s, I think is when it was first passed, is that decisions can't be arbitrary and capricious. One of the reasons why is because you may notice that government regulations can have the force of law, which is very weird because it means that laws are being made without the approval of the legislative branch. The reason is because the legislative branch has delegated some of its authorities to the executive, but it has to do so within certain limits, right? There have to be guiding, limiting principles that the executive has to adhere to. And then there's this whole procedure of public notice and comment and review, and you have to explain yourself at each stage of this.
See, this is the problem with democracy. You have to talk to people, and they're stupid.
Yes, but it does mean that, like, to get...
Don't agree with that. Jesus.
What? It's better than all the other systems we've come up with. It doesn't mean it's not
all
stupid.
right, Winnie. Fuck's sake.
So, like, normally to create, enforceable rules or regulation, it can easily take 2 years. Which is part of the reason why I find it so frustrating, for example, that the Biden administration drug its feet so long, and as did the Obama administration, because oftentimes you will end up with...
To be fair, Biden was dragging his feet because he had a stroke.
Yes. Although, I don't know how you drag both sides of your body. That's
he had pulls on both sides,
Yeah. But you'll end up with something where they will have gone 18 months into making the rule, and then the government will change.
Yeah.
And so suddenly the entire process will be dropped.
To be fair, that actually is a problem with democracy. Is the fact that longer term decision making is a lot more difficult because you have to actually be in some position of authority, which means you have to constantly be re-elected, new people, etc., etc. Continuity is an issue.
Yeah, and I mean, now since we don't have Chevron, which was the deferential standard the courts used for the longest time, it does mean that the courts could always interfere, right? Aside from just considering whether or not something is arbitrary and capricious, right? That's going to be a statutorily defined concept that has some level of teeth to it. But it does just mean that whether or not there's ambiguity for the courts to, not the courts, for the administration to even regulate will potentially be undercut by whatever interpretive decisions are made by the federal courts. The benefit, I suppose, of the most recent, the Trump v. Casa decision is they don't address...
Why would a Spanish house sue the president? Casa.
I suppose...
See what I did there? I've interrupted you with a very silly joke about one of the few Spanish words I know.
I mean, maybe the house wasn't born in the United States?
Well, it's Spanish, yeah.
Yeah, seems reasonable. Flew over here.
Mm.
One of the benefits is that it only addressed executive orders, right? It didn't go to things like regulation and whether or not those are... Did you slap yourself?
I slapped my own hand.
It's called applauding.
Well, sort of, but if it's a single clap, I don't think it counts as applauding.
What are you smacking it against?
My cock. Like, if you only touch your penis twice, is it technically even wanking?
Depends how you're touching it, I suppose.
Like, because you've got to shake it dry after a piss. That's not wanking, is it? It can become that.
I mean, it is if you're doing it right.
I was about to say, it's sort of like, it can definitely turn into that, but...
I mean, you're over there anyway, right? You've got a repository right to hand, so...
I don't think I've ever
two
come
birds,
in a
one
toilet.
wake.
I've never come in a toilet before.
What?
No, I've never come in a toilet. And
Did you go to university?
Yes, and I was coming in bitches. What?
And
showers
and toilets.
Yeah.
Not toilets, tissues. I mean, look, I've dumped cummy tissues, but that's not the same. I haven't literally ejaculated into a toilet bowl. I don't think that's weird.
Bucket list.
I don't think that's weird. I think that's a perfectly normal thing to have not done.
That's one for your bucket list, Kevin.
No,
getting arrested for being drunk in a Walmart parking lot.
That room is not a sexy place.
Well,
yeah, but people fuck in the shower.
Yeah.
Well, that's fucking though, isn't it? That's different.
Well, you can just like, hold on, sweetie, I just kept going to dump my load in the joint.
And the toilet, yeah, I was going to do it on your back, but like, we'll just...
I mean, also part of the problem, maybe wherever you went to school was different, but part of the reason why people would jerk off in a bathroom was because we have roommates. And
oh yeah, fuck that noise. That. No, we don't do that. We have dorms. No. None of this.
See, when I lived...
Shared dorms.
Yeah, when I lived in the dorm, I had a roommate anyway.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't be dealing with that. No, fuck that noise. No.
Tiny
that's
little
weird.
room. And
how'd you fuck? How'd you fuck when you've got a roommate?
You put it. That's why
Sock
you have
on
the
the door?
tie. Yeah, I was gonna say tie.
But that's just unfair on them because look, they want to go to bed.
Well, you know,
you try not to do it at night.
It's a reciprocity thing, right?
No.
So the idea is you respect their boundaries so that when you hopefully get laid, they'll just like find a friend and sleep on the couch.
No, they should have privacy. I couldn't. That's why I don't like living with people. Because they're gross and so am I. So why do we want double the grossness?
I mean, we do definitely have like apartment-style dorms. That's what I moved into.
Those are expensive, though.
Yeah,
They're
I moved in like
expensive.
my junior year because I didn't want to. Yeah, I wanted to fuck and be away from people.
Well, the dorm I was in the first year was like on campus, and it was an old building, like hundreds of years old building, and the rooms were fucking tiny. Like they'd extended the height of them. They'd been around so long, the doorway had to be extended because people are taller now. That's how long they've been around. And when you fucked, the room actually shook. Like it was fucking weird. It was
that's weird. That's
a little bit unpleasant,
weird.
in all honesty.
Any other actual legal thoughts?
No.
Love this,
Probably not.
Marcus. This was really good. I always like when you come on. I feel smarter afterwards.
Thank you. I enjoy this. If for no other reason than I get to share what's going on, burden shared and all that.
Well, you should definitely go into teaching. You'd be an excellent teacher.
But I'm not. I was actually going to start applying to PhD programs, but as you might have noticed, funding is a bit of a mess right now.
Yeah.
What question are you asking me there, 255? Did I fuck anyone whilst Rory lived with me? No, I had a fucking 12-year dry stretch. What are you talking about? Yeah, of course I did. What? He just, I'd lock him out.
Well, maybe you only fucked outside. If Rory's an indoor cat.
No, Rory was an outdoor cat as well. He was a mixture, that one. He used to occasionally bring in a little rat, and he'd eat the front bit and leave the arse for me to clean up.
Also, 255, the government won't change because Christy needs a break from doing election studies. She needs a good 5-year break between 2024, the next election. So no, Keir Starmer better not fuck up this government majority that he's got.
Well, I think he was referring to the American government changing.
Oh, okay. I don't know what's going to happen in, it's too far out to have a read on what's going to happen in the midterms. I mean, there's always I mean, it depends on what happens with the economy. It's kind of hard to tell right now. But then again, Trump has never been popular. He's never like.
No, he's very unpopular.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
True.
Yeah. Well, we only have 15 minutes left on this call, but we can probably.
Well, I was going to say we can wrap it up.
Yeah, this is perfect.
Thank you, Marcus, for
edutaining. Yeah, edutaining
the audience with your knowledge and your beauty.
Oh, why? Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll have to get on camera next time.
Yeah.
You good
but then I'll have
boy.
to put on pants.
Yeah. Still haven't sent me a dick pics though. Actually, that's not true. You sent me a picture of
Dick Van Dyke.
No, not Dick Van Dyke. Godfather.
The Godfather. Yeah. No, I've got Benito Mussolini in my head, and it's a different Italian. What's his fucking name? The actor.
What? Marlon Brando?
Marlon Brando.
Yeah, I sent a picture of Marlon Brando sucking a dick.
Yeah, which is literally true, by the way. He's sucking a big old dick.
Yeah, there's his first divorce. One of his wife's complaints was that he kept blowing his friends at parties to amuse other people.
That's just buddies, despunkifying.
Exactly. It's not gay to suck a dick. You're just helping a dude out. It's all good. Nothing gay about that.
Give a woman an orgasm. That's what's gay.
True.
True. Yeah.
Especially because that's not even a real thing.
Oh god, I saw on Instagram where people were playing Never Would I Ever or whatever, a drinking game, and the card was I've made a woman orgasm, and the guy starts to drink, and his girlfriend grabs his wrist. She's like, "You put that
down." Leave him. Leave. Like if it's that bad, leave.
Not on purpose, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, look at how sexy you look, Kevin. Look at you as Miss 4th of July.
I am. That is me. It's very confusing considering the title of the stream, but it is what it is.
I will say, does that count as praying in aid of a treasonous organization?
It definitely breaks the flag code in a number of ways. But that's not even legally enforceable, so who gives a fuck?
Alright, so after the stream ends, I am officially on vacation for the next week.
Yes, so that means you won't be with us?
Correct. I will not be here next
Friday. Where are you off to? Actually, you don't need to tell us that. People might break into your fucking house. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, I'm actually not going to the weekend, but I mean, yeah, you have to pack Friday night. So.
Well, I'm sending everyone over to Turn Left on YouTube. Go and join them. And
I'll say now on Twitch.
Who is on Twitch? SK the Crusader. Fuck it. Anyway, yes, thank you, Marcus, for coming on. We'll get you on another time when you've. When there's I'm sure the Supreme Court will do other dumb shit in the future.
No doubt.
Yeah, the next time one of the Bill of Rights protections is stripped away.
Mm-hmm. You'll be here to explain it to us.
Or they make it mandatory that you have to own guns or something. Yeah.
Possible.
Yes, and we'll get you on them. Yeah. So it's goodbye from me and goodbye from Marcus. Say goodbye, Marcus.
Goodbye, Marcus.
You did the bit.
Yep.
And it's goodbye from me and goodbye from Christy. Say goodbye.